His house. I'm gonna have them to call him up.
Yeah, but I mean, after that.
After that, it's Newming, it's 2500 East Biddle,
Okay.
and then,
Okay.
and then so on and so
All
on.
right, I just,
Okay, yeah, 20, okay. Good morning. Today is the June 11th, 2015 Board of Liquor License Commissioners for 11 o'clock a.m. I'm going to ask I'm going to ask Eddie Robinson's Gorsuous House at 5307 Bel Air Road to come up to the front. This is a continuation of an item from last week in regards to the
How you doing,
licensee.
Pat? Good. We have a rule, I'm sorry, but we have a rule that all licensees have to come. You're here, you're excused. Fine.
What were your guys' names real quick?
My name is Richard Smith. You got to walk over and tell.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Okay, call the next case.
Good morning. Okay, the first one
I'm
is.
not ready yet. One
Oh,
second.
no problem.
He's trying to get those names.
Okay, waiter is ready. You're going to call it anyway.
Yeah, he's going to call it too. I'm done.
Ready?
Go.
Calling Myong Nam Kim and Yu Du Park, Myong Nam Incorporated, trading as M&M Lounge, 2500 East Biddle Street, Thomas Ackers, on behalf of the liquor board.
Okay, go ahead, enter your appearance.
Abraham Hurdle on behalf of Myong Nam Inc. and the licensees. One of the licensees, Your Honor, I know this is a concern, I want to be really clear before we start. One of the licensees is not here, they are not in the area, they're out of town. But one of the licensees, the listed licensees, is in fact here. The situation, unfortunately, is this violation occurred so recently that we couldn't get that person.
Licensee, that's all we need.
Correct, one of the listed licensees, well, there's
Yeah.
two, and I just want to make sure that we're all clear.
Okay. All right.
And it's my belief that this is a contested hearing and there's going to be no admission. I just want to make that clear on the record beforehand.
Why did you, at this time, that is correct.
Okay.
One of,
Call your case, let's go.
Okay. Calling my first witness.
Wait a minute, swear.
Sorry, Your Honor, I apologize.
Raise your right hands, please. Go ahead, raise your right hands. Thank you. Do you swear or affirm the testimony you're about to give in this hearing will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? Yes.
All right, call your first witness.
Be calling Inspector Daryl Clark, first witness. May I use this microphone?
if I may, I have a question regarding Mr. Chandler, before we get too deep in this and cause any problems for him.
But we're only at Gerald Clark right now.
No, I understand, Your Honor, but I believe this testimony is going to be related to Mr. Chandler's testimony in a way that is irreversible.
We need quiet in the audience, please. If everybody would just get settled and just settle yourselves, and please be quiet, turn off your cell phones. It'd be
Go
very
ahead.
helpful.
Thank you. I do appreciate it. Mr. Chandler is underage, and it is my understanding, and is not indicated in the report, that he was deputized in any manner whatsoever. So his testimony today and testimony regarding that would indicate that he committed a crime of 4 different violations of the state code, and that anyone else who testified to said crime would be arguably conspirators in aiding that crime.
Well, I'll take it subject to your objection, and I'll rule on it after I hear the testimony.
Again, Your Honor, my concern is, once the testimony is given, it cannot be undone with regard to Mr. Chandler's guilt. And if he is to testify, as I've been advised he will, I don't know that he has legal counsel or has been given immunity by anybody.
I hear what you say. You have already ruled. Go ahead, call your first witness.
Can you please state your name for the record?
Daryl Clark.
And Mr. Clark, for whom do you work?
I work for the Baltimore City Liquor Board.
And
Let me ask a question. Do you admit the qualifications of the witness with respect to his expertise in liquor board violations? Or do you wish me to qualify him, or have him qualify?
I do have a couple questions, but I
Well, you
don't,
can have questions.
with regard to his expertise, but I just want to know how long he's been an inspector.
Okay, but subject to that, do you admit the other qualifications?
Well, his qualifications would be based on how long he's been an inspector. I apologize, Your Honor, I'm not trying to be
So
difficult.
you're not admitting?
I do not admit, I'm
Go
sorry.
ahead, qualify the witness.
what is your job title? I'm sorry.
I'm a Baltimore City Inspector.
And what are your duties as a Baltimore City Liquor Inspector?
My duties are to inspect establishments that are licensed in the city of Baltimore City to make sure that they're governed by the rules and regulations and the laws for Baltimore City.
And how long have you been a liquor inspector?
5 months.
Okay. And did you happen to be working on May?
Wait till he finishes his sentence. Go ahead.
Did you happen to be working as a liquor inspector on May 26, 2015 at approximately 2 p.m.?
Yes.
Okay. And what were your job duty assignments that day?
My job duty assignments that day were to work with the Oliver Community Association, as well as to go around to liquor establishments to see if they would make, if a minor would be able to make a purchase of alcoholic beverage.
With whom were you working?
I was working with Chief Inspector Jones, as well as Joshua Chandler, and Malik Ashanti, who is the liaison for the Oliver community.
Who was the minor that you were going to be using to conduct these underage alcoholic purchases?
The minor that we used is Joshua Chandler.
Okay, now let's stop. Now, do you have any objection to being admitted as an expert?
I do, Your Honor. His time on the job, I
Anybody
don't
have,
think
you
qualifies
want
him as
to
an
have any
expert.
questions?
Sure.
Go ahead.
Mr. Clark,
Yes.
how are you today?
As to
Yes,
that
Thank
issue
you.
only. As to the expertise issue only.
Absolutely.
Questions?
Mr. Clark, you've been an inspector for 5 months, is that correct?
Yes, sir.
And you've undergone significant training during that time, correct?
Yes, sir.
Would you consider yourself an expert on this matter?
Yes, sir, to the best of my ability.
I'm fine with that.
All right, then I admit the witness, Gerald Clark, as an expert in the field of liquor board and violations. Go ahead with your direct examination.
Thank you. With whom were you working? Strike that. How did you confirm that Mr. Joshua Chandler was indeed a minor?
We had, prior to the actual, the compliance issue, we had gotten a license from him indicating that he's under the age of 21, as well as a marked $20 bill.
What was the purpose of the marked $20 bill?
The marked $20 bill is the purpose to use that to indicate that there was a purchase made for a minor under the age of 21.
I'm now showing what's been marked as Board's Exhibit number 1. Could you please tell the Board what that is?
This is the marked $20 bill that was used. Also, a driver's license for Joshua Chandler.
And on the driver's license, what age does it indicate that Joshua Chandler is?
The age there is 1/5/1996.
How old is he, based
He
on
is
that?
19
Okay.
years of age.
I'm going to move this into evidence. I've shown a copy. If you want a copy to Mr. Hurdle.
Wait, is
That's
that marked?
exhibit number 1.
This is who?
This is 2.
Because mine, I just want to make sure.
Exhibit
Got it.
1, and also the file Exhibit 2. Go ahead.
Wait. Hold on, did we move 2 documents into evidence right there?
This is exhibit number 1.
Correct.
It's a composite.
File Exhibit 2.
They have moved into 2.
Okay. And what's, do I have a copy of the file?
The whole case, it's the whole file.
As in just the report?
You're welcome to look at the file.
Can I take a look at the file, Your Honor?
Certainly. Show them the file.
And the board has only been given the charging documents and the inspector's report, is that correct? And the photo, the penguin shirt. Thank you.
Any objection?
No objection.
All right, admit it. Let's go.
And if you could, please tell the Board what instructions were given to Mr. Chandler.
I object.
Overruled.
Well, I think it's important that someone advise Mr. Clark that he is going to admit that he conspired with an underage minor to break
no
four different
speech.
statutes.
Just a minute. Just a minute. Go ahead. You finished?
I think it's imperative that we all understand that 4 different rules were violated criminally, and that Mr. Clark would be considered an accomplice at this time. He doesn't have counsel. I'm not sure if someone has advised him on his rights to not testify.
All right, I treat that as an objection. Overruled. Call your witness. Let's go. Let's get.
Trying, Your Honor. Can you please explain to the Board the instructions that were given to Mr. Chandler at the time?
The instructions were for us to pull up to the establishment and to have the Joshua Chandler to purchase alcoholic beverage without using identification.
And can you please, did you happen to conduct an alcoholic beverages investigation on May 26, 2015 at 2 p.m. at 2500 East Biddle Street at the establishment named M&M Lounge?
Yes,
And what city and state is that located in?
Baltimore, Maryland.
Okay, can you please describe to the Board the investigation that occurred there?
Yes, we pulled up to the establishment. We told Joshua Chandler to enter the premise to purchase an alcoholic beverage.
And what did you observe?
We observed him to go into the establishment, and he came back out with a black bag.
And when he came out with the black bag, what, if anything, did he do?
Okay, at that time, he had put up his hand to signal Chief Inspector Jones and Inspector Clark to meet him there at the establishment.
What did you do in response to that signal?
And
Objection. You're Inspector Clark, correct?
yes, yes, sir.
Okay.
Overruled. Go ahead.
Yes. So we entered into the establishment with the black bag and look at the what was purchased, which was a 40-ounce steel reserve.
Okay. And that was in the black bag?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And what did you do upon making that observation that there was steel reserve in the bag?
At that point, we notified the clerk that that a purchase was made by a minor that was under the age of 21. We had then proceeded to let the clerk know that we need to actually get the $20 bill back, and as well as to return the change that was given at the establishment. Then at that point, we also had taken a picture of Joshua Chandler with the merchandise that was purchased in the establishment, and we also had written a violation at that point.
And at that point, did Mr. Chandler ever identify to you the clerk that sold him the alcoholic beverage?
Yes, he did.
Okay. And was that the clerk that you addressed all
That
these
was the
issues
clerk
with?
that we addressed to
Okay.
him.
Okay. I'm just going to show you what's been marked as Exhibit Number 2. Could you please tell the board what that is?
This is the investigation report that was written.
Who wrote it?
I did, sir.
And this is the investigation report relating to this particular investigation, MM Lounge, on May 26, 2015.
Yes, sir.
Okay. I'm going to move this into evidence as
It's already
Exhibit
in
Number 2.
evidence, isn't it?
Yep. Yes, Your Honor.
Yeah. Go ahead.
Just making sure. And you said you took a picture, correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And I'm now showing this one marked as Exhibit Number 3.
Yes, sir.
And what is that?
That
No,
is
that's already in evidence too, isn't it?
That's true. I just want him to confirm all that, Your
Joshua
Honor.
Chandler holding it.
Okay.
We don't put everything in 2 times to confirm it.
Thank you, Your Honor. No further questions for this witness.
Cross.
Mr. Clark, you said that this, I think yours, the other one's marked 2. This investigation report was written by you, is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Did you sign the investigation report?
No, I did not. I was gave the actual report to Chief Inspector Jones for review.
So you wrote the report
Yes, sir.
and you didn't sign it.
Yes, sir.
You said previously you underwent significant training during your 5 months.
To the best of my ability. Yes, sir.
You have undergone
Yes, sir.
significant training.
Yes, sir.
Is part of that training to sign reports?
Yes, sir.
So you would indicate here that you didn't sign it?
Yes, sir. But I had to have review for Chief Inspector Jones to make the final review.
After that final review, did you ever sign the report?
No, sir.
Why did you not sign the report?
I adhere to my peer, so I submit the evidence, and then it's then given to the Chief Inspector for final review.
And you admit that you worked with Joshua Chandler, a minor, to aid him in getting alcohol. Is that correct?
I work with.
Objection.
You read for your objection?
The characterization of the question, you worked with Joshua Chandler in order to aid him getting alcohol. Your
Well,
Honor.
that's his question. Overruled. Go ahead and answer it. What's your answer?
To aid him, I don't know if I was there to aid him.
Mr. Clark, you
Yes.
worked with...
Let him finish.
Thank you, Your Honor.
I don't know if I was aiding him to do it. This was an investigation, so we wanted to make sure that the establishment was not serving minors under the age of 21.
I'll rephrase it. You worked with Mr. Chandler for him to obtain possession of alcohol as an underage minor. Is that correct?
Yes. Oh, no. Yes.
No further questions.
Call your next witness.
I'm going to be calling Mr. Chandler.
Go ahead, call.
Please state your name for the record.
Joshua Chandler,
And Ms. Chandler, how old are you?
19 years old.
And just directing your attention to May 26, 2015, if you could tell the board, what was it that you were doing that day?
That day, I was volunteering with the Greenmount
Talk
Oliver.
a little louder, sir. Can't hear you.
That day, I was volunteering with the Greenmount Oliver Community Association to help prevent underage alcohol purchasing.
Okay. And what was your responsibility that day?
My responsibility that day was to walk into the establishment with a marked $20 bill and attempt to purchase alcohol without identification.
Okay. And during that day, did you ever have the opportunity to visit location M&M Lounge located at 2500 East Biddle Street in Baltimore City, Maryland?
Yes.
Approximately 2 p.m.?
Yes.
And if you could tell the board, what was it that you did there that day?
And that day I walked into M&M Lounge, walked to the counter. I said, hello. I asked, may I get a 40-ounce Steel Reserve? They showed it to me, put it in the bag. I gave them the 20. They gave me the change and the alcohol. And I proceeded to walk out the store.
At any time, did they ever ask you for identification?
No, sir.
Okay. And after you walked out of the store, what did you do?
I walked out the store, gave the signal to Chief Inspector Jones and Inspector Clark. They then proceeded to walk back into the store with me. And we returned the alcohol to the establishment, gave them the change bag, received our Mark 20. They took a picture.
Okay. And on the day of the sale, how old were you?
I was 19.
No further questions.
Mr. Chandler, do you own a fake ID?
No, sir.
Have you ever owned a fake ID?
No, sir.
Have you ever had a drink?
No, sir.
You've never had an alcoholic beverage?
Objection.
Sustained. It's got nothing to do with this case.
On the 26th, you bought alcohol, is that correct? With the assistance of Inspector Clark and Inspector Jones, is that correct?
No, sir.
What?
No, sir.
No, sir?
No
Who-
assistance.
No assistance.
Didn't have any assistance.
Was it your $20 bill?
No, sir.
Whose $20 bill was it?
Chief Inspector Jones.
And he didn't assist you in the investigation?
No, he did not walk in the store with me to buy the alcohol.
That wasn't the question,
You
sir.
gotta talk
That's it.
louder.
He did not walk in the store with me to buy the alcohol.
Mr. Chandler, I apologize, but that wasn't my question. My question was,
Well,
on
I
the
can't hear him, so I don't know what he's saying.
on the 26th, Mr. Chandler, Mr. Jones and Mr. Clark assisted you in this investigation, is that correct?
Objection.
Yeah, the question's not clear. What do you mean by assist, sustain?
You were provided money to buy this alcohol by Inspector Jones.
Yes.
No further questions.
All right, call, any other witnesses?
Just one quick question. The purpose of purchasing the alcohol was for an investigation and not for personal use, correct?
Yes.
No further questions. That would be my case.
That's your case?
That would be my case.
All right, your case, sir.
I think the first call, I think, is Chief Inspector Jones.
What, your case. You could call him if you wish.
Mr. Jones, please.
I think he needs to be sworn.
Yeah, have you been sworn?
No.
Okay, swear the witness.
Do you swear or affirm the testimony? Yes. Do you swear or affirm the testimony that you're about to give in this hearing will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes.
Go ahead, sir.
Mr. Jones, did you supervise the investigation on May 26th?
Yes, I did.
And did you assist Mr. Chandler in purchasing the underage alcohol?
Objection. Assist.
Form of the question, sustain. What do
Did you
mean
plan the
by assist?
investigation with Mr. Chandler to purchase the alcohol?
Yes.
And you've seen Exhibit 2?
Yes.
And you were given this typed report by Inspector Clark, is that correct?
Correct.
And he hadn't signed it when he gave it to you?
Correct.
And you didn't sign it?
Correct.
And you didn't give it back to Mr. Clark to sign?
No.
Is it the Liquor Board's policy to not sign documents of this nature?
It's my policy that we didn't sign it. I never get the inspectors to
I
sign a
object
report
to
till
the-
I... You gonna let me
He's-
answer?
I can object to the question if he's not answering the question, if his response is not responsive.
No, I decide that, and you cannot. You've got to let him finish his answer, and then you can object, and if you desire, you can ask me to strike it.
Thank you,
That's
Your
the
Honor.
proper way. We all do it since I could ever recall. What is wrong with you this morning?
I'm sorry, Your Honor.
All right, go ahead. Next question.
I'd like him to answer the question that I asked,
All right,
Your Honor, 'cause
repeat
it
it.
was not answered. I said, Mr. Jones, Chief Inspector Jones, is it the Liquor Board's policy to not sign reports?
It's not the policy of the agency not to sign the reports, but it's my policy that they don't sign it until I review it, in case it needs correction. And then I did not have him sign it at this particular time, no.
To clarify, you're saying this report was submitted in violation of Liquor Board policy.
No, it wasn't.
Did you just say Liquor Board policy is to sign all reports?
It's the liquor board policy to sign the reports after I review them in case they need to be corrected, and it wasn't done. I didn't get them to sign it because I hadn't reviewed it at that time, and I didn't get them to sign it after because I was already engaged in other situations.
I have no further questions.
All right. Any other witnesses?
This isn't,
Excuse me. Any cross?
no cross, Your
All
Honor.
right, next witness. Any?
I have mitigation, Your Honor, but I'm not sure we're
Okay, we'll
there.
get to that separately.
Thank you.
All right. Commissioner questions. Mr. Jones.
No questions.
All right. On the issue now of responsibility, and I find that the evidence is more than sufficient to find that the violation of the law, .4.01, has occurred in this case. So now we'll go to, what did you say?
I do have something in mitigation, Your Honor.
Mitigation.
Absolutely.
All right. Go ahead, sir.
Yes, I'd like to call, I guess, Young Kim. Young Kim, sorry. This is,
He's been sworn. Come on
correct,
up,
and he is
sir.
the licensee, Your Honor.
Push the microphone over so we can hear him.
I'll take this one for the time. Share this one. Okay. Mr. Kim, were you present
Yes.
on the day of the incident?
그날 앞에 있었어. I'm out the store. 나 집에 없었어. She was in the store. My name is Kyun Man Kim. I'm his oldest son. I'm going to translate for him.
Okay, fine.
Kyun Man Kim. Yeah. KYUN MAN KIM. He was not there at that time. At the violation.
Who was present at the time?
누가 그날 누가 있었어? 하지 말고. 하지 마.
Mommy.
The lady that was got caught for the violation, and my mom.
And who?
My mom, Jung-soon Kim.
The person who committed the alleged violation, Miss Kim, is a relative, correct?
Yes, aunt.
And since the 26th, you've made efforts to prevent this from happening in the future.
Yes.
Well, now,
Yeah.
I want to make sure we're asking right. I apologize. I think he's just, I'm sorry, Your Honor.
it's okay. I mean, but you'd realize what's happened.
Absolutely.
Is that your witness is now no longer your witness. You got another person. So call this person if that's who you're going to, we got to have
I
a
think
name
we
in
can
the
speed things
record.
up if I go with junior versus senior, if you wouldn't mind.
All right, well, but let's identify for the record
Absolutely.
what we're talking about.
I'm going to call at this time Mr. Kyun Man Kim.
Who's that?
This is the son of the licensee, and
Okay.
he is familiar with this matter,
I
and he has
managed
spoken to his
place-
father.
Yes.
And
about
he
this.
has been sworn. Go ahead.
Correct, Your Honor. Mr. Kim, the person who committed the violation is a relative, is that correct?
Yes.
And what's the relation?
She's an aunt of mine, my father's sister.
And since the time of the incident, 2 weeks ago, you guys have made strides to prevent this from happening in the
Yes.
future.
Yes, we did.
What sort of things have you done since then?
First, we changed our procedure on how, from the customer from the moment they hit the counter, we ask for ID. We don't ask for what they want. We just ask for ID, and that's one thing we changed. Second, we've gone through the alcohol awareness program, 3-hour class with Fells Point alcohol certificate, and what else?
Have you reached out to the?
We put signs on the bar stating that you have to be 30, or we're gonna ID check you. What is that called? What paper? What kind of document is that called?
Sure. Your policies. Have you
Policy,
developed
alcohol beverage
policy?
service policy, right here.
I'd like to introduce this as Exhibit 3, if that's possible, Your Honor.
Well, that's the state's exhibit, I mean, the commission's exhibits. This would be your Exhibit 1,
Exhibit 1. We can go letters.
okay? Exhibit 1, market defense Exhibit 1.
And we take this very serious. We've been in business for a while there, and we do not sell. It was a mistake that night. That day, my aunt made a mistake, and that's it. But we take this very seriously. And we do not sell alcohol to minors.
Okay, and wait for the next question.
In addition, you've developed an incident report in case something like this happens in the future, correct?
Yes, we have.
To prevent you from serving anybody, not just minors,
Yes.
but anybody who's intoxicated or
Yes,
for other
or
reasons.
underage, yes.
I'd like to introduce them to Exhibit 2. And you have a copy of that, I believe, Mr.
Exhibit 2, defense.
In the last 2 weeks, had me contact the council to see if there's anything
We can
in the
try-
future that
yes.
can be done
Yes.
to prevent any sort of issues
Yes.
like this in the future. Going forward, you'd be willing to work with the community if they requested changes or anything of that nature?
100%, yes.
I have no further questions.
Cross?
No questions.
All right. Any other evidence or witnesses?
I do, Your Honor. I actually have the alcohol awareness instructor with us
Okay,
today.
call your witness.
Mr. Philippidis, if you could come on up.
Philipidis. James?
Go ahead, sir.
Mr. Philippidis, you are a licensed alcohol awareness trainer, is that correct?
Yes, sir.
And you were contacted recently to train several individuals who work at this establishment, is that correct?
Yes, we certified 3 individuals.
And how did the training go?
It went well. We did 3 hours of training. We actually focused on the importance of carding everybody, the criminal liability of serving anybody underage or that's already intoxicated, what's an acceptable form of ID, the characteristics of a valid ID, what fake IDs look like and how to prevent that from happening, and how to refuse service. We also worked on the alcohol service policy and the incident reports also.
I have no further questions for this
Any
witness.
question? Any other witnesses?
No, Your Honor, not at this time.
All right. Commissioner questions. Mr. Jones?
How long has the establishment been owned by the Song?
I'm going to say 8 years. 8.
I'm good.
All right. Commissioner?
Yes, I want to show you what's been marked as Defense Exhibit number 1, and just ask if you have a signed copy of that exhibit, signed and dated.
No.
Not
It at my, no, I don't have that signed over here.
I'm asking your client.
No.
So has it been signed?
Yes.
And has it been dated?
Yes.
And have you provided a copy to your attorney?
No.
All right. When did you take the alcohol awareness class?
Tuesday evening.
Of this week?
Yes.
So in preparation for coming here today?
Well, I
you
talked to
thought-
my-
I'm not- So in preparation for coming here today, you thought it smart?
Yes.
To be able to say that you and your coworkers had taken the alcohol awareness training?
Yes. Well, I got the information last week. I called my attorney. He advised me that we need to get alcohol awareness to, my aunt. She has, all the employees need to know what the rules are. So it helps us. We have 3 people now there with the certificate. So
Prior to Tuesday of this week, had anyone in your establishment taken the alcohol awareness training?
yes.
And when was that? Some years ago?
2012.
Okay.
I took the test, and my father, both of us.
So you and your father took it, but none of the other employees
No.
had taken it?
No.
Okay, all right.
Can I
Thank you
follow up
very
on that?
much.
You're welcome. On that question?
You can. I would just ask Mr.
Mhm.
Hurdle if you would let me and everyone else finish asking our questions before you interrupt. Okay? We've got a pattern going today. It needs to change.
Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Mr. Kim, you indicated that you took the training on Tuesday, is that correct?
Yes.
You actually were not the licensee at this establishment.
No.
And your father and you took it in 2012, you said.
Yes.
So they hadn't expired,
No.
but you just felt the need beyond this hearing, for you at least,
Yes.
to be trained.
Well, I'm going to break my rule. I'm going to ask a question. How did your father take the test if he can't speak English?
I was there with him at the class, and I
And
was
you
translating.
translated?
Yes.
I see.
Yeah.
Okay, that answers my question. All right, nothing else from the commissioners? If not, we'll go to punishment.
There are a couple of other, since this. I
With
kept it
respect
away
to
from
the-
with respect to punishment, Your Honor, I've got a
All right,
couple of-
fine, call your witnesses.
Councilman Branch?
Say Councilman Branch, if I could present this letter also to the board before we
All right, open it up, please.
Can I object to the letter?
Well, I don't know what it is. I haven't seen it yet.
Either do I.
Can I look at it so I can rule on your objection?
Sure.
Thank you. I was going to do it anyway, I can
I
tell you.
know. That's why she was helping me.
All right. Councilman, I'm going to give you back your letter. Are you going to read it, or what are you going to do?
wanted to divert from it. This is a letter in support of the Community Association, but me being a lifetime resident in that community for practically all my life, seeing the exchange from when it changed from ownership to ownership until they taken over, there's been quite a few incidents that I've identified and that I've witnessed, and I wanted to place that on record. This is one of the troubled community association establishments in my district, where when the suspension took place, I saw a total transformation in the entire layout of the community itself. I mean, from being quiet and peaceful, lingering on the corners, you name it, Judge. I mean, those 2 months was about probably 2 of the best months that I've probably ever experienced in my community, living in that neighborhood.
All right, any questions of this witness? Counsel?
I do have some questions. Councilman, you indicated they were suspended for 2 months. When were those 2 months?
They were suspended sometime. I can't give you the dates off the top of my head, but I'm almost certain if you was their attorney, you would know. And I can also state for the record, when the suspension took place, I went to the establishment with somebody in the community. And even though this wasn't the nature of the situation of purchasing underage, but I tried to get somebody to go into the back of that establishment, and they would not let us go through.
Well, let me, so we can get to the issue. This establishment was before this liquor board on the issue of failure to open up the bar, and they received a 90-day suspension. And they did have a prior record of 2 times serving minors. So that will clarify.
Yes, sir.
that.
Yes, sir.
At this time, I'd like to object to his answer, as it was non-responsive to my question,
Well,
and I asked it to be
honest
stricken.
with you, I couldn't understand some of it, so I can't rule.
Can I ask it again?
Maybe one of my commissioners can rule on what he said.
It's,
What I understand the testimony to be is that the establishment has been a problem in the community. There was a hearing before this board, a penalty was imposed that resulted in the establishment being closed. And we're all in agreement with that at this point. It was closed for some period of time. During that period of time,
Yes.
the perception was that things were better in the community. In fact, they were so good that it was perceived to be the best time in the community in a
Exactly.
long time. And I'm assuming that the establishment is now open because the stay of our order closing the bar has been lifted, and clearly they're back in business because, so that's my understanding of his testimony.
Do you have any questions?
well, I do appreciate your understanding, absolutely. The councilman indicated they were closed for 2 months, and I simply asked him which 2 months they were.
Okay.
And I'd like to clarify, because they were the best 2 months in forever, I feel like he would know. I do know,
All right, well,
but I didn't ask myself the
he
question.
said he doesn't know.
Councilman, which 2 months were they closed?
First of all, they were closed 3 months, according to the record. But anyway, go ahead.
Which 3 months were they closed, Councilman?
I am not the inspector. I am not the one who authorized it to be closed. I live in the neighborhood, and because I live in the neighborhood, I drive by that neighborhood each and every morning, and I saw where there was no one standing on those corners. I didn't see anything taking place. In fact, when they did open back up, and I reached out to the Eastern District Police Department to find out how come after the judge ordered that they be closed, that they were reopened. I had someone come into the establishment, and the father, one of the older gentlemen, was in the back and would not let us in there. Now, if you're asking me to define what month, look, I can't tell you what I've had for lunch last week. That's not, look, the issue was that it was on record
Wait a minute.
for this court.
That answers your question. He doesn't know. Next question.
Well, he didn't say he doesn't know. Do you not know which 3 months it was, Councilman? Is that correct?
I clearly stated that I cannot tell you right
Thank you.
off the top of my hand as to which months they were. But I do know that there was a proceeding that took place in this court. I was hospitalized. I could not be here to testify. Had I been here to testify, I would have gave the same statement that I'm giving today then. So, I mean, I have to go through my calendar in order to determine
The
what's going
record
on.
shows that it was closed starting November 20th, 2014 for 90 days. Now that we've got over that one, let's go. Next question.
I think I'd like to clarify the record.
That's the record. I'm
It's
telling
not
you,
the record, Your Honor. I apologize.
it's
not
our
the record.
commission record. It's our commission record. That's it. That's,
I have a question.
just a minute. Let him finish. Any other questions?
Defer to the executive secretary.
I have ruled, and absolutely getting irritated with you today over your constant unprofessional conduct with respect to your questioning.
Your Honor, I apologize, but there's something
That
that I know
apologies,
that you do
just
not
act
know.
accordingly.
They were granted an emergency stay 2 weeks in to their punishment. They were not suspended 3 months because someone indicated they were closed for 2 months and they weren't.
Mr. Hurl, this is unnecessary. This
I
is
can't
really
believe you today.
unnecessary.
I cannot believe you.
I'm not sure what the value is. If you believe that to be the case, simply state that and correct it. And we can move on, but this.
Do you have any other questions of the councilman?
There's too much gotcha going on today. We're gonna get to a decision, but the gotcha game is not helping anybody.
I apologize. I'm not going to play the gotcha game. The testimony has been.
Let's go.
Here we go again.
Let's go. Let's move
I
forward.
ruled, and the next time, I'm going to do something else. It's going to be expensive. Now, go ahead. Your next question.
Councilman, did you testify the last hearing?
No, I was sick. I was unable to show, but I sent the representative to my office.
Thank you. No further questions for Councilman.
I think there's one more community representative
call the witness.
that would like to make a statement.
I would swear the witness.
Do you swear or affirm the testimony that you're about to give in this hearing will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do. My name is Julius Henson. I'm with the Berea Neighborhood, the Berea Eastside Neighborhood Community Association. Biddle and Milton is in our so-called quote-unquote catchment area. We were here in November and testified that M&M Liquors is what we believe is to be a menace to the entire community.
Is it what?
A menace to the community. What happens is there is crime on that corner of Milton and Biddle, 25? 2500 block, is that better? Yeah. 2500 block of Biddle, 2400 block Second. I would like to clarify one thing. It's correct. They were closed and fined November, I think it was the 20th, fined some money and closed 90 days. They appealed at the circuit court, and in about 2.5 weeks, it was reopened. Now, what the councilman was referring to was that the next day, I drove past it.
Overruled.
I drove past the intersection to make sure it was closed. And it was so clean and so beautiful, I actually drove past the intersection. Didn't realize I'd even been, I was so busy, so used to seeing it the way it was, had to turn around and come back. So we would like, the community would like a clarification. In the liquor records, it says that M&M Lounge. Well, this is a photo I'd like to submit as evidence that we take on yesterday afternoon at 3:30 p.m. And like to submit this as evidence.
Show it to council. I don't know what it is. And what are you offering it, or
yes,
to the board?
Yes, I am.
All right.
Okay.
All right. Let me see. Are you objecting to it?
I do, Your Honor.
Let me rule on it. All right. Your reason for your objection?
I wasn't provided this before the hearing, Your Honor. I had no chance to rebut any sort of accusations that are being made with that photo.
Overruled. Go ahead.
So we're not clear if it's a lounge. It certainly, as of yesterday at 3:20, was not operating as a lounge. So we also had provided for this honorable board a letter from the board itself, official letter. These people here today, if were asked to testify, they would stipulate that they would testify to this letter. Okay, so we would like to enter this letter, which is also a letter from Delegate Branch, as well as we have 1 year of police statistics from the police department. As you know, Mr. Chairman, the police department didn't want to come and testify, but they provided the data for all incidents on that corner and 2500 block of Biddle and Milton, 1400 block of Milton for the last year. The conduct there, even when they were closed for 2 weeks, if you look through this data, we'll see that it has not changed. Now, I took the liberty to summarize this for you, this police data. There is 10, on average, 10 stops, police actions as a result of M&M Liquors per week. It is documented here, okay? I'd like to submit this for each member as,
Do you have, how many copies do you have?
I have.
I need to give a copy. Do you have a copy for council?
I do.
I'd like to restate my objection. He was speaking for a document that wasn't evidence.
Mr. Johnson. I know, what time period are we talking about?
This is, that data support.
Since they reopened?
No, the data, what we did was we went from June 1, 14 to the time they were closed.
Mm-hmm.
And then we went from the time they reopened to June 1 of this year.
I see.
Okay. And at the end of each documents, it's 4 set of documents because the police do it by post numbers, you'll see the total of incidents. So what happens there, we have foot traffic, that people were buying drugs, selling loosies, and buying alcohol. To demonstrate that, this is a photo that was taken yesterday afternoon at 3:15, and the description of this is a man planting drugs, hiding drugs on the step next to the liquor store. Okay? Yes. Okay, so, yes, please.
If I may, I never got a ruling on the packet. I apologize.
And what is your motion?
There are unauthenticated documents. The documents were provided to me 2 minutes ago. There are letters from people I can't cross-examine.
Well, I'm sure being a veteran attorney before the Liquor Board, you understand that letters are admissible in evidence before this board from the community without the members of the community having to appear. Are you aware of that?
I do understand, Your Honor, but I do have to protect the record.
Good. Okay. Well, you have that decision overruled. Now, this one, what is it? I haven't seen this. Wait a minute.
Okay. Well,
Are you objecting to it?
Absolutely.
All right, well, let me see it so I can rule on it.
And can I state why, Your Honor?
Yeah,
Okay.
go ahead, tell me why.
Your Honor,
Sustained. There's no, putting a thing here, ban hiding drugs under steps, is not sufficient to bring this into evidence. We have to have more testimony. This shows a man bending over steps, doesn't show anything about drugs, no identification of what it is he's hiding or anything else. So the objection is sustained. Give it back. Any other witness, any testimony?
What we're attempting to do, Your Honor, is to show that out of the 10 police incidents that are reported per week, so we're trying to demonstrate to you, for example, in our letter to this board, loitering, I have another exhibit that I'd like for the attorney to look at that shows loitering at that facility.
I object.
Okay, let me see it so I can rule on it. Now, you're offering your letters and so forth as an exhibit, is that correct?
Yes, sir.
All right, that'll be Exhibit 1 on behalf of this witness, marking it evidence. All right, now this shows loitering and alteration 3:25 p.m. Who took the picture?
I did, Your Honor.
Okay. And you're objecting to it?
Your Honor, the picture has loitering and altercation written on it when...
I'm going to sustain your objection as to the written words on the picture, but not as to his verbal description or what the picture shows.
Okay, Your Honor.
All mark it, exhibit for this witness.
If I may interrupt, and I apologize, I know there's been an issue on my behalf today, I'm sorry. Which one's this?
This is exhibit 3.
So that would be 2.
That's
Two, I just want to make
Exhibit
sure
number
it's
2.
perfect. Thank you.
Good, for the record, we need
Okay.
that.
And Nick, go ahead, sir. Any other testimony?
To further trying to explain to, demonstrate to this honorable board that M&M Liquors is the epicenter for criminal activity inside and outside. And so in order to demonstrate that, we would like to offer this in an exhibit as well, and the description will speak for itself. But this was actually a deal where the guy here asked me, I got that presidential. In our community, that means that's crack. I got that presidential, and so I said no thank you and took the picture. But this activity is all day, every day, outside of the store. And so with the 455 police situations involving with M&M Liquors being the center, that is only the ones that are reported or caught. In that document, you'll see where there were traffic stops, there was larceny, there was cuttings, people got cut. Some of these incidents, yesterday, the attorney objected, but a woman punched a guy in the face and the guy walked away. So that was an altercation, an assault that wasn't even reported. So what we submit to you is that even though the record is horrible as it is only the top of the iceberg. So last but not least, I'm sorry, go ahead.
Take this. Are you offering this?
Yes.
Show it to
4.
counsel.
I object simply to the language on it, otherwise I'm absolutely comfortable with the picture.
All right, let me see.
Show it to counsel.
A deal. Yeah, I sustain your objection as to the language. There's insufficient evidence to support it. The photograph will be admitted.
So that's
Mark
exhibit
it.
number 4. See it?
You want to see it? Go ahead.
Mr. Chairman, we just wanted to show that this is a community of families, mostly single moms. And yesterday morning at 10:10, these children were walking, and they happened to walk past the liquor store. As you know, we have a fear that one day, one of these kids will catch a stray bullet or get hurt, as so often has happened in urban neighborhoods in Baltimore City. So we just wanted to show this in real time.
All right, you have an objection?
I object to his testimony regarding bullets. I find it irrelevant.
Let me see the picture. How about the picture?
It's actually a nice picture. I'll let it go. Picture's fine.
No objection to the picture?
It's number 5.
All right. Overruled as to the testimony. Go ahead. Next, any other testimony?
And in case the board was not familiar with the corner of Milton and Middle, we just wanted to kind of give you a general idea of what the blight is in that community. And then, so we just wanted you to see the context in which we were talking.
No objections.
All right. No objection. Mark it.
It's number 6.
All right, anything else?
Mr. Chairman, I would like to briefly just read into the record the letter that all of these people here represent.
All right, go ahead, sir.
Okay. Dear Commissioner Ward, we, the Berea Eastside Neighborhood Association, want this honorable board to hear again the nature and degree of devastation that M&M Liquors creates in our community. We do not oppose liquor stores in general, but this liquor store for years have contributed mightily to the deterioration of our neighborhood. Many studies have documented that no good thing occurs around a packaged good liquor store in a residential urban neighborhood. M&M Liquors is that such store on steroids. This is devastatingly true because of the crime M&M Liquors foster the poverty, the loitering, and the antisocial behavior creates a toxic mix with M&M Liquors, the chief protagonist. Didn't bring my glasses. Hold on a second. Chief protagonist. Okay. Last November, the Honorable Board of Liquor Commissioners suspended operations at M&M Liquors for 90 days. That, of course, was appealed. The community, the police, the government officials applaud this action. Briefly, the corner of Biddle and Milton was a new place. The citizens of the Berea community respectfully urge you to end the nightmare that is M&M Liquors. Thank you very much.
Okay, any questions?
Yes. Mr. Henson, your letter indicates that there are studies. Do you have any of those studies with you?
No, I thought an explanation for that is CPHA, of course, is working with to rezone the liquor stores in urban communities. As you all are painfully aware that we have way too many liquor stores in our communities. I think that's common knowledge. There have been so many of these type studies that I didn't think it was necessary to document that here at this hearing.
Mr. Henson, you don't have those studies with you, correct? Just to
I do not.
Thank you. Mr. Henson, I'm looking at this police, what is this?
I'm sorry, to your last question.
Excuse me, Mr. Henson. It's my turn.
Okay, go ahead, sure.
I have this police list.
Data.
Data.
Okay.
On a bunch of them, it just has an address and then car stop.
Okay, go ahead. I'm sorry.
I appreciate it. Thank you very much. I do. So for 2400 East Biddle, dispatch 25 car stop, handled in service. How do you know that was related to 2500 East Biddle? Myeongnam Liquors, not?
I don't, but you don't either. But the police do, and the police saying that it's a map, commissioners, in that document to show the 2500 block, and the activity is those blocks in question: Milton Avenue, 1300 block, 1400 block, Biddle, 2524. And those are the statistics for that immediate vicinity. You know, and what happens was, I think the testimony was, people pull up in cars to do drug transactions, to buy Lucy's, and to get alcohol. And as far as the data is concerned, you would probably, I read the data as you are reading it now, and I think it's really clear that the data indicates what it indicates.
Where does it indicate that 2500 East Biddle Myeongnam Liquors Lounge is responsible for all of these incidences?
Well, sir, if I may, let me answer that this way. We have, over the past several years, many instances where M&M Liquor Store has been charged with something. So if you're implying that they do not, then I disagree. This is outside of this establishment. You saw the exhibits that showed activity, loitering, what I suspect to be drug transactions, etc. Okay? The police department is neutral in this. They're not fudging the numbers. If they say this is what happens, burglaries, stabbings, etc., then that's what happens. They're independent of this. They don't have an axe to grind. They're just reporting the data as it is. And it is what these people, these citizens here know intuitively. They see it every day. And that data is support their feelings because they're living with the crime and the problems.
Mr. Henson, just a couple more questions. I apologize. We'll try to get through this as quickly as possible. I know we've been here a little while. Yes or no, there is nothing in here that says that any of these are directly because of this business. Is that correct?
No, that's not correct. Let me tell you the origin of the data. Let me tell you how I got the data. I called Major Ward with the Eastern District Police Station. He said, I know you have M&M is at it again. Will you supply to me the data surrounding M&M Liquors? And they did that. And that's what you have here today.
But the report just indicates it's from the 2400 block to the 2600 block. Is that correct?
No, sir. I believe, sir, you're cherry picking that. You'll see 2500 Biddle Street. You'll see the exact address on Milton Avenue. So if you comb through the report, you'll see that there are instances that are there.
Did you know that the store will call the police if there's loitering outside?
I've not personally ever seen that. I'm not aware of that.
And if they did, that would be in here.
It would. It is not in there.
And if someone was disorderly at 2401 East Biddle, and they never went to the liquor store, it would be in here too, correct?
You are...
Sir, I apologize.
I do not know.
Thank you.
Okay.
That's all I really needed. Can I see the pictures again? Thank you. That's actually a good one. This is the one you said the guy was dealing drugs, is that correct?
I believe that that was not accepted into as evidence.
The description was not admitted.
The photograph was not.
Nothing concerning drugs was admitted into evidence.
Mr. Henson, you testified.
Just the photograph.
Thank you, Your Honor. Mr. Henson, you testified that this person offered you crack or some sort of slang term for crack. Is that correct?
That's correct.
And what's the address here?
That is, I don't know, that's probably, I can make a guess at that. That's probably something. I don't know. I mean, those buildings, it's a vacant building with the roof off. It's a vacant building with the roof off and the wall falling down. I have no idea.
This alleged drug
Well,
dealer.
you can tell.
Well, I'm asking you, I'm sorry.
I do not know.
Would it be reasonable to say it's 2502?
It may be 2502, it may be 2501. Yes, it would be reasonable to say that.
But it's not 2500.
No, it's not.
So he's not standing in front of the liquor store.
No, sir, but that was not offered into evidence, but we have plenty stuff that is offered into evidence that is in front of 2500. I mean, the characterization of this is you cherry picking it to make it say something it's not saying.
This picture is of the inside, correct?
What's the exhibit number?
I think this was one. I think this was the first one.
Well, let's find out. Should give it back to, what's the exhibit number?
Number one.
All right, here you go.
Thank you.
Question?
This is a picture of the inside of the store, is that correct?
Yes, sir.
You've accused me of cherry picking information, is that correct?
I have.
Did you take a picture of the bar area?
No, that was the end of the road. What happens there is they say that there's a lounge area. No one has access to it, and you can tell from that picture it is not open. Okay, it is only open when you guys think you have a hearing. Okay, but it's not open and it is not operating as a lounge as it ought to be, and it is not.
Did you take this picture?
I did.
Did you go into the lounge?
Sure.
It's a simple question.
I couldn't find a lounge.
Did you ask someone if you could go into the lounge?
No, I did not.
So you don't know that it wasn't operating? For certain, you do not know that it was not operating?
Sir, there's nothing for certain.
I have no further questions.
That's all your witnesses with respect to,
Oh, sorry, thank you.
any other witnesses?
Actually,
Some studies.
I think Mr. Henson wants to
Yeah.
introduce one more.
Yeah, we have,
Copy of
wanted
studies.
to know earlier, did we have any studies about, we made the statement in the letter that no good thing happens around liquor stores, and we were challenged on that. And The documentation, Counselor asked if there was some documentation. This is a recent study.
All right, show it to him.
Okay, are these just the same thing? Can I give one to council? Okay, all right, I'm just gonna.
I know. Are you offering this
He's,
Yes.
believe,
We're offering
gentleman's
that as
offering it
evidence.
as evidence,
collectively, you're offering it as an exhibit?
Collectively.
as an exhibit. Exhibit, I think, number 5.
Do you have any objection to
6.
the exhibit?
I do.
All right.
These are not studies, Your Honor. This is 3 pages from the internet. It's not
Let me see.
a study of anything. It talks about studies, but it's not a study.
Mm-hmm. Sustain.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Anything else?
If I can follow up with just the one picture. I think it's the picture of the, kind of the block at a distance.
All right, let's go. This is the last time I'm going to let you start over again.
Thank you. Mr. Henson, you said that the liquor store is responsible for the blight in the neighborhood. Is that correct?
I did not say that.
You did not say it.
This is the neighborhood, right?
I did not say that.
No, I know. I accept your testimony. This is a picture of that block. Is that correct?
Which spot?
The 2500 block.
Of,
East Biddle, I'm sorry.
Mhm.
I apologize. This is marked as Exhibit 6, and it's marked decay and blight. Do the abandoned buildings affect the neighborhood crime rate?
Objection.
overruled.
There are many things that affect the crime rate, and we said it in the letter, was antisocial behavior, poverty, and many things. So what we don't need is, in a block like that, to have all of this criminal activity, because it affects the 2400 block, the 2300 block, the 2200 block, where some of these people live, and we in East Baltimore are trying very desperately to clean up that area.
What have you done to get occupants into this block?
Objection.
Yes, sustain. Way off.
If there was a murder at 2508, it would be in this report, correct?
Objection?
Thank you.
Yeah. Where are we going with that question?
Your Honor, if I may, this document
If
has...
something's not in the report, it's not in the report.
No, I understand, Your Honor. The issue...
Objection sustained. Next question.
Thank you. I have no further questions.
I'm just going to have one very quick question. If, are there anybody here from the Berea Community Association or the area, in and around the area, that are present today?
Yes, if you all guys would raise your hand.
We could ask.
All right, and how many people raise their hands or count them?
18. Your Honor.
18 people have raised their hands and are here. Their purpose of being here, sir?
Their purpose was to come and testify, if need be, that this M&M Liquor is an epicenter for criminal activity, and it has went a long way into destroying that community, that part of the community. And it's been ongoing for years, and we would ask that it would be closed, and because of the repeated violations, the criminal activity, Your Honor, we would respectfully request from the community that it be closed and that they would be fined very, very heavily. Thank you.
All right, all evidence is in, and except for the commissioner's questions. Mr. Jones. All right.
I don't have any questions.
All right, we're ready for a decision. Folks, let me say at the beginning of my remarks that the Berea East Side exhibit, which I believe is Exhibit 1, and all of the police reports that are exhibited therein, all of them occurred before the last hearing that we had and closed this bar for 90 days. So that between the date that it reopened And except, not all of them, but and except for the exhibits, the offenses since that time began on page, I'm not sure these pages have a number.
Each section has a number.
I'm not sure. Anyway, you can figure out the dates yourselves, 2015. The second thing I observe is that all of these addresses that the police department provides, none of them are 2500 East Biddle Street. Oh, here's one. I back up on that. There are a few, but there are an awful lot that aren't. I back up again because I see there's a lot of them on 2500 East Biddle Street.
And a lot of them, Your Honor, are January 2015.
They're 2015. In fact, all of them seem to be after they reopened.
Correct.
Now, the question, again, that we come back to is to why they're here. Now, they have a record. They're here because of selling to a minor. And they have a record of two prior sellings to the minors, one of which was in 2010 and one was in 2009. The last hearing where we closed them for 90 days was not on that subject. As has already been repeated, it was the failure to have the bar open. So the penalties previously assessed by the Liquor Board was $500 for the first offense, and the second offense was again $500 at a different year. So as I've said before, I find that the bar is responsible for it. However, we're dealing with the sale of minors since 2010. This is the first violation of that nature. Taking into consideration the community's objections to this bar, this is not an issue of closing the bar. This is an issue of punishment for what they've been charged with, which is selling to a minor. I find that the bar should be closed for 90 days again, and the penalty, what's the maximum penalty? $3,000? $3,000. How much time do you need to pay the penalty?
Since they're closed 90 days, Your Honor, we'd ask for, I mean, they can't pay it during the 90 days because they'll be closed. If there's any chance we could do 120 days.
120 days. All right, commissioners.
Well, I'm somewhat in agreement. This is a 401, selling to a minor. We need to have someone investigate some of the other charges that has been talked about here today. If these charges are as obvious as some of the testimony, then our inspectors need to see some of that, and we need to put that in writing and do something about it. However, today we are looking at the 4.01A charge. And this is the third time since 2009 that this has happened. That's the reason why I asked the question, how long have you been the owner of this property, this business? And you said 8 years, which means that those two charges plus the one today are incorporated under your ownership. That's a little much for one ownership, 3 times. I appreciate the actions that you're taking now to make an attempt to curtail this type of results, but it's never too late, but it doesn't help me in my decision today. 90 days, I think, is reasonable, and I hope that this 90 days give you time to just to think about your business practice and make some great adjustments. I concur.
And I concur with the chairman and Commissioner
Jones. Clearly, something's happening at this business that is causing repeated failures to comply with the liquor laws. I'm sure you've heard the saying, doesn't help to close the barn door after the horse has already left. You took the liquor classes after a series of violations. It's helpful for the future, but it doesn't help address what's already happened. I think that the 90-day suspension of the liquor license is appropriate given the huge impact on this community and the long history of violations. So for those reasons, I concur.
All right, let me say to the community and Mr. Henson, Chief Inspector Jones is here, and if you have anything to say to him, now's the time to say it about other violations that may or may not be occurring at this location. All right, thank you, folks.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Call the next, when you're ready, let them know. Call it, yeah. Can I, okay.
Yeah, please go.
I can't go on?
Yep.
Can we call the
Yes, I
next
know.
case. Now, I do so with permission of our missing commissioner.
Calling Taegoon Moon T&S Brothers Incorporated, trading as Eden Cafe, 921 North Eden Street, Thomas Akers, on behalf of Liquor Board.
You want to step up, identify yourself, sir?
My name is Tae Moon. My name is Tae Moon.
Are you the licensee?
Yes, I'm the licensee.
Okay.
Your Honor, I had preliminary discussions with Mr. Moon. Mr. Moon is going to go forward today with an admission. I told him he has the opportunity to contest my witnesses who are present, and he is electing to go forward with an admission, if you'd like to talk to him about that.
All right, Mr. Moon, do you understand what he said, that you are admitting the facts, which means that if the facts are sufficient, I will find you responsible for the charge of selling to a minor. Do you understand that?
Yes, sir.
So the only thing he has to do is read the facts into the record with that testimony. And then, of course, it would be up to us with respect to punishment. All right.
Your Honor, preliminarily, I'm going to ask that the case file, along with the evidence file, be introduced into evidence.
All right. The file is admitted into evidence as Exhibit 1.
Thank
Go
you.
ahead.
Your Honor, on May 26, 2015, approximately 1 p.m., Chief Inspector Jones, Inspector Darrell Clark, and Mr. Joshua Chandler and Representative Malika Shante, I believe, who is present too, were conducting an underage alcoholic sales investigation. They utilized Mr. Chandler, who's 19 years old. Mr. Chandler entered the establishment Eden Cafe at 921 North Eden Street in Baltimore City, State of Maryland, and purchased a 40-ounce bottle of Steel Reserve beer with a marked $20 bill, which was given to him by Inspector Jones. At this time, once given the sign to Inspector Jones, Inspector Jones saw that the Mr. Chandler had purchased the alcoholic beverage, went into the store, notified the clerk at the time what had occurred, wrote and issued a violation report, and all events occurred in Baltimore City, State of Maryland. That will be Liquor Board's case.
All right, do you have any additions to that?
Well, I guess.
I'm going to ask you what your response is, but do you have any additions to the facts, any corrections? All right, then they are admitted as the evidence in this case. Any other witnesses?
No, Your Honor, that will be our
All
case.
right, now, Mr. Moon, what would you like to tell us?
Well, because I was here with riots and I was closed for a few weeks, and we just reopened 2 weeks prior, or 10 days prior to the inspect this instance, and I just had to get out to your help because I was closed a long time. And
You say you were closed because of the riot?
Yes, I was
and
here.
You reopened and
About 10 days prior.
that's when this occurred?
Yes.
On May 26th?
Before, about 2 weeks before 26th. We reopened it May 10th, about May 10th.
May 10th?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
And what, if any, thing have you done with respect to preventing this from happening again? You have no prior record?
No.
Nothing has happened before?
No.
And what precautions have you taken to make sure this doesn't happen again?
Yeah, I told my cashier to check ID more frequently, and I tried to put more signs in to check, that we check IDs. And there are signs, but try to we put more signs in.
All right, any questions?
No, no questions.
All right, Commissioner, questions?
None.
And I have none. The prior happenings in the record have nothing to do with a Rule 401 minor. I find you responsible for the charge. And the maximum fine in this case is $500. However, in view of the fact that he admits his charge, there's no prior problems that I can see except for apparently the community may have some problems, which I don't know about. Is anybody from the community here?
No, I do not believe. May I turn my back? Is there anybody from the community to testify in regards to Eden Cafe, 921 North Eden Street? No, Your Honor.
All right, and therefore, my decision is a $500 fine. However, I'm going to suspend all but $300 and plus costs.
I concur.
And I abstain.
I also like to make it known to you that I think this is real generous, and I like the points that you say that you would put into place to try to make sure that this doesn't happen again. This is your one time.
Yeah, right. I concurred with your remarks, Commissioner. How much time do you need to pay the $300?
End of the month.
What'd you say?
So 3 weeks, end of this month.
3 weeks?
Yes.
3 weeks, all right. You have 3 weeks, all right. Commissioner, found him responsible for the charge.
Okay, I will abstain on this one since I didn't.
Abstain, okay. All right, sir, come over here to the secretary and she'll take care of you. All right, call the next case when you're ready down to the court reporter.
I actually thought I had an hour and 15 minutes, given the last case.
I know.
My goodness.
Unbelievable.
Yes.
Ready?
Right, okay.
Wait a minute.
Yeah, he gave me the nod, Your Honor.
He did, okay.
Yes. Calling Kai Hyuk Kwan and Kwang Ok Seo, Marai Liquors Incorporated, trading as Federal Liquors, 1537 North Washington Street. Right here.
All right. Any prior discussions?
Your Honor, I had a prior discussion with the owner. At the time, he did not communicate to me whether he wanted to admit or whether it was going to be contested. I don't know. He'll admit. And I guess you'd have to identify, who are you?
I'm his accountant to translate his...
Can you talk just a little louder? Use the microphone.
I'm his accountant. I'm here to translate the...
All right. And your name, sir?
My first name is J-A-Y-J-K-O, his last name.
All right, and you're translating for whom?
His main language is Korean.
Spell his name.
이름은 스펠하세요.
K-I-H-Y-U-C-K K-W-O-N.
And you are the licensee.
라이선스 가지고 있는 사람이죠? Yes.
All right, now tell him that he understands that by admitting the charge, he doesn't have to be sworn in, but the facts that are read into the record indicating that a license at sale to a minor occurred on May 26th. And if the facts are sufficient, then we will find him responsible. And the only issue then before the commission is penalty. Do you understand that?
Yes.
Now tell him that.
지금 이거를 내가 잘못했다고 얘기하면은 그 여러 가지 지금 얘기한 사실을 이제 다 인정하는 거고 페널티를 받을 수 있다고.
인정해야지. 네.
Yes.
He has one prior record.
Yes.
그 전에 한 번 걸린 적 있죠.
예.
예.
That was in 2014.
2014년도에.
예.
예.
All right, facts.
Preliminarily, I'm going to move the case file into evidence, Your Honor.
All right, the file be admitted as exhibit number 1.
On May 26, 2015, approximately 5 p.m., Chief Inspector Jones, Inspector Darrell Clark, representative from Oliver Community Association, Malika Shante, and underage individual Joshua Chandler conducted an alcohol sales investigation at Marai Liquors Incorporated, trading as Federal Liquors, 1537 North Washington Street, which is located in Baltimore City, state of Maryland. At that time, Mr. Chandler entered the bar, purchased a 40-ounce bottle of Steel Reserve beer with a marked $20 bill. He exited the location, signaled to Chief Inspector Jones, then came in, identified the item as an alcoholic beverage. At that time, Chief Inspector Jones notified the clerk, wrote a violation report, recovered the change, and took back the marked $20 bill. All events occurred in Baltimore City, state of Maryland. That will be the Liquor Board's case.
All right, now, translator, you tell him that on the 26th of May, 2015, somebody in his establishment served a minor, somebody that's under 21 years of age.
5월 26일 날 언더 에이지 하나가 와서 그걸 놓고서 사고한 거 발견됐다고.
네.
Any additions or changes to those facts?
그러니까 이런 일이 하는데 이거를 이제 아니라 해서 뭐 할 얘기가 있냐, 더 어떻게 할 건가.
앞으로 조심해서 더 잘해야지. 그렇게 더 있어요.
He will be very careful.
Pardon?
He will be very careful to
in the future.
check everybody buying liquor.
All right, I find responsible for, and find them responsible for the charges of 401 sale to a minor on the 26th of May, 2015. Commissioners have any questions?
No questions.
All right, the issue is responsibility, penalty. You want to tell us anything? What we should do? It penalize you for that.
이제 페널티를 주는데 그거에 대해서 뭐 얘기할 게 있냐고. 뭐 다른 얘기 할 게 있냐고.
없어요.
And what's he done to prevent this from happening again?
이거 다시 안 일어나기 위해서 방지하는 어떤 무슨 일을 하겠냐고.
아이디 검사를 철저히 하는 수밖에 없는 거예요.
He will check everybody ID. Whoever comes in, check everything.
But how's he going to overcome the language barrier in talking to people that age?
그 사람들하고 얘기할 때 지금 랭귀지 영어가 잘 안 되잖아요. 그거를 어떻게 극복할 거냐고 물어보네.
극복을 어떻게 해. 딸내미가 학교 다니는 것밖에 없는데.
Okay. Well, he cannot overcome fully, but he has.
I can't hear you.
He cannot overcome fully that language barrier. He is old enough, but he has a daughter, and his daughter will help if there is any problem where interpretation, translation matters occurs. Actually, his daughter is here.
I think that I asked commissioners if they had any questions. I can't remember. Any questions?
Just one quick, how old is your daughter? And what times will she be there in the establishment with him? And
So-
what are the times that he's open? I want to make sure that there's no gap as to when he's there by himself, when he's going to try to communicate with someone.
따님이 몇 살이고 따님이 언제 도와주고 그런 거 알고 싶은 거예요.
따님이 32살,
She's 32 years old.
2살. 그리고 오후에
In the afternoon time, usually, she stays with her.
Any other questions? None?
No questions.
All right, let me say, I want you to tell him that this is kind of like, we're not going to close, my decision is not to close him, but I'm going to give him a substantial fine. But if he comes back again, then I'll have to close him. You understand that?
Okay. 이번에 뭐 클로즈하게 하진 않는데 파인은 좀 많이 줄 거라고. 그리고 다음에 다시 오면은 클로즈하게 할 거라고.
땡큐.
All right, I find him responsible for the charge of 401 sale to a minor on the 26th of May, and the penalty, because of the prior, is $1,500. How much time does he need to pay it?
페널티가 1,500불인데 어느 정도 시간이 필요하냐고 피하려면.
아니 당장이라도 써서 줄 수 있어. 책은.
How much?
He can write check today if he accepts.
Write a check today.
Yes.
All right, there's also an administrative fee. What is that?
$16.25.
$16.25 total.
1,625불. Yes.
Okay, he'll pay it today. All right, that's your case. Next.
Just so the record's clear, we concur, or I concur. I concur with that decision.
I'm sorry.
I agree also.
I'm maybe it's because we are into the lunch hour. I don't know what it is. I didn't even ask you if you had any questions. Well, I have to straighten myself out.
Well, a break was given on the first time we were here back in 9/4/14. It was a $500 fee for the first time, and it looks like we only charge you.
We suspended half of it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, I think
We gave him a break.
We're really getting a break in consideration as to what was done before. So take care and monitor your population that you cater to very closely.
전에 처음에도 많이 봐준 거니까 조심하.
Yeah, thank you.
All right, go ahead over to the, let me know when you're ready. Got two more.
Two more. Yep. They're all, I believe they're both admissions. Yes. Calling Kuyang Wang and Ku Gang Ying. Peace Grocery Incorporated, trading as King's Corner, 1713 East Federal Street.
Good morning. Good afternoon, Your Honor.
Good morning. How are you this morning? Enter your appearance for the record.
Howard Millen.
And have you had conversations with Mr. Milliman?
Good afternoon, Howard Milliman on behalf of.
Any
Yes,
conversation?
I've spoken with Mr. Millman. I believe we're going to be proceeding by way of an admission.
That's correct, Your Honor.
All right, did your, advise your clients of their rights that they give up with respect to an admission?
Okay, you understand that we're admitting this happened, and we're going to talk to the judge in the court with the
And
liquor
who are you
board.
talking to? Who are your clients?
The
The
two-
names?
Okay. Could you state your name, please?
Wang Qiuguo.
And your name, please.
Kung Fan Sim.
And you're both the owners, is that correct? Listed owners?
You okay on the
Lic-
spellings? Okay,
Okay.
all right.
And you're admitting this happened, is that correct?
Yeah, I'm so sorry.
Right. We'll get to that again, yeah, but you're admitting it happened, and you're ready to proceed to mitigation, and we're going to tell them how it won't happen again and how you're sorry, is that correct?
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, and find the response, that they understand that they're admitting the charges, and I hear from the liquor board representative.
Your Honor, first and foremost, I showed all items of evidence to Mr. Millman, and I'm going to be moving the case file and evidence file into evidence.
No objections.
All right, the facts have been entered into the record, there's no objection. Now, with respect to punishment, I'll be glad to hear from you.
Thank you very much, Your Honor. Thank you very much, Your Honor. Your Honor,
Hold on, Your Honor, I have to give do you want me to go through the statement of facts?
I thought you did.
I know I entered all the evidence into evidence, and I was just going to go.
And you entered the record?
I entered the
reports,
and the picture and.
All right, that's admitted as exhibit number 1. That's sufficient. You've seen them?
yes, I have, Your Honor.
Good, fine.
Do you want him to recite the facts?
No, I don't need it. Go ahead. Sir. We have counsel here. He's read it. That's enough.
I have, yes, Your Honor. And I've looked at it, yes. Your Honor, my clients, they're husband and wife, 37. They have 2 children. What happened on this incident, first of all, is very isolated. His wife does not work in that store, and he took ill and had nobody that instant to come in there. And I believe I spoke to it
How long have they been in business?
14 months, no priors at all. And they both have taken alcohol awareness prior. When they first opened, they got a training certificate for alcohol awareness courses. And they both completed successfully, and I have them here, Your Honor.
All right.
For
You're
sure.
going to offer them, or
If
you're
I
going to
may,
keep them?
please. Well, you need these, right?
Yes.
I need these.
We'll let the show. I'll show it to
Yeah, please
commissioners,
show.
and then I'll give it back to you.
Thank you very much, Your Honor.
Now, to be entered as exhibit number 2. However, you're going to receive the exhibits and take custody of it.
Thank you very much, Your Honor.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right. What else?
Your Honor, and she had her son with her, and they were just with her, and there she came as a temporary measure. She was wrong for it. She knows she was wrong, and she did sell the bottle of beer. Since then, they have signs up now additionally, and it's just family, and it's him that's there all the time. They have signs up now. Anyone else, family that works there has been trained. No ID, you get it right away, no alcohol. He also has cameras up there. He has no problems with the association and the community there, Your Honor. It's a family business, and he was very upset this happened, and he's been very concerned about it. He's asked a lot of questions and wants to make sure it never happens again. In the event he gets sick again, they have other family that will come in there and are on call. That will be there. It will not be his wife coming up with the children and he runs out. They're very, as I said, it's the only one they've ever had. And they've been open 14 months. And in the beginning, they took the courses, just so Your Honor knows, not as because of this. They took it in the beginning, all the proper things to do and how to do it. They have a good rapport with the community. And they will assure you it'll never happen again, Your Honor. And they were very upset it did happen. And his wife is very sorry, and he's very
so sorry.
And he is very sorry also, Your Honor. And that would be all I had, Your Honor.
Find they're responsible for the charge. They acknowledge it. In time for
decision, my decision is, this is their first charge on this issue or any other issue. And I'm persuaded by the remarks of council that, and also their own facial expressions and their own remarks, that they have learned a serious lesson here and they won't be back. Because if they are back, it would be a different story. Therefore, $500 fine, all suspended, but $250 plus costs.
Judge, I would like to say suspend 300 like we did the last case, and
What'd we do?
300 to one case, and we left down.
$300?
Yes.
Sure.
For consistency purposes.
Okay. I adopt your correction.
Thank you, sir.
Your suggestion, how's that?
That's better.
And I agree. And I just want to add a little footnote. You all have, I think your license was, the transfer was completed July 21, 2014. So you might have been working at that establishment for a year and a couple of months, but it has not yet been a year that this transfer was completed. You have one violation. That is a little concerning that you have a violation already so soon in the operation of your business. So you must take very special care because now you have a record. And if you add to that record with more violations, it's not at all helpful. So I think the measures that you've described are good. They should keep you from having further problems, but be aware, you're so young and new at this that you want to have no more. Okay?
Okay, thank you so
All righty.
much.
How much time they need to pay?
When can you pay the money?
Right now.
How much, right now, though?
Okay,
By
you
the
could go over
chair is
to,
fine.
Can you, they pay by check?
yeah, go over to the
They can pay
committee.
that right now.
So
All
there's
right.
also a $125 administrative fee.
Totals, how much?
The-
$425.
$325.
$425?
$325.
$325.
Oh,
You suspend 300.
Yeah, suspend 300.
Thank you for that also.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We got it?
$325. They'll pay
Okay.
today.
All right. Let us know when you're ready.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you.
Thank
Nice
you
seeing
so
you.
much.
Take care.
Thank
Mhm.
you.
Ready?
Yes, calling Ki Young Lee, Old Clubhouse Incorporated, trading as Whispers, 1807 to 11 Baker Street. Tom Sackers on behalf of the board.
Good afternoon, Your Honor, Commissioners.
All right,
David
enter your
Wu-
appearance, please.
Yeah, David Wu, representing the licensee Ki
And
Jung
your last
Lee,
name, spelling?
WOO.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
We did read the statement of facts, and we do not dispute to the facts, and we are here to mitigate the circumstances and go from there.
All right, have you advised your clients of what happens as a result of this?
Yes, we have talked, and he agrees to.
They understand that the facts will be read into the record, and if the facts are sufficient, and I find them responsible for the charges, then we go to the issue of punishment only.
Yes,
You
that's
understand that?
correct. Yes.
I'd
he
be glad to
understands.
hear from you with respect to punishment as to what you have to say. No, we
we-
haven't got that yet. Wait a minute.
No, yeah.
All right, I find that they knowledgeably have allowed the facts to be read into evidence by the representative of the Liquor Board. I'd be glad to hear from you.
Thank you. Your Honor, on May 28th,
You got counsel.
Your Honor, you're right. I'm going to move the case file and all evidence into the record, Your Honor.
All right, you understand we're going to admit the record as it's written out in the charges as the evidence in this case.
Yes, I
All right, the
understand.
case file is admitted as Exhibit 1. Anything else?
Your Honor, all events current Baltimore City.
You have any additions or corrections to the facts?
No,
All right, now I'll hear from you, sir, with respect to background.
not much more, but Mr. Keeley has been a exemplary licensee in the Baltimore City for a long time.
How long?
And maybe 20 years.
How many?
Over 20 years.
20 years?
Yes,
Hmm.
in different locations. But this year,
Different
some-
location?
Yeah, different locations in the past.
Well, you had one prior here at this location.
Yes, I understand that. I'm trying to explain that.
Mhm.
So somehow, this year, this is the second instance, and it's basically involving two employees who were inexperienced, and so, but they are all, they all have the certificate of alcohol awareness education.
They've all had one?
They had alcohol awareness education.
They have?
They
When
do
was
have.
that?
In the previous years, not this year, but in the past. In
I
the
mean,
last
what
2
was the date?
the employee had a certificate about 3 years ago, actually.
3 years ago.
Yes.
So it was prior to the last.
Yeah, prior to,
last.
yes.
All right, go ahead, sir.
The only thing he could do was he actually had a long talk with the employee and to stress the importance of not getting into violations, especially when you consider Mr. Lee has been good licensee for a long time, so he is concerned about his reputation as well. And he does have a tremendous relationship with the neighbors, and he wants to continue that also. So if you would consider these things in your decision, we would appreciate it.
Is anybody here from the community? No?
May I turn my back? No, you're
I have a question on the time.
All right, go ahead.
Oliver Community Association, how did it get way on Baker Street? How did that happen?
I utilized a young man that I had at the time. It was a complaint from Doc Cheatham at the time, and that's why I utilized him over in Westboro.
All right. Any other questions, commissioners? No? All right, I'm ready for punishment. He has had a prior, and despite the fact that there was an alcohol course taken, and he has now a responsibility, which of course is always important, and I take that into consideration. With respect to the prior and this one, $1,500 fine plus costs. And how much time does he need to pay it?
He can pay it today.
Today. Okay. Commissioners.
We just had a similar case. I can't remember what the fine was, but it's
Same
the
thing.
I agree.
It was the same. It was the same fine.
You had to
and
watch it.
I know. I know. We have people watching. I concur. And I have to say, as your attorney has pointed out, this is the second offense in 2015 in less than 6 months. Something's happening, and it has to change. You're on alert. I think if you were to come back, it would be a very different outcome, and we could no longer ignore the 20-year history of being in business. Something's happening, and you've got to address it.
Okay.
All right, you understand?
Yes.
You go
Yes.
over here naturally.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
That would be the morning stop.
All right, and we'll stand adjourned until 1:45. It's 1:45 right now for the afternoon docket. Okay?
Yeah.
Back at 1:45.
Yeah. And you're introducing the licensee who has an emergency he has to go to.
It's not an emergency, Your Honor, but he works at the stadium for the game.
That's helping you out.
That's an emergency, Your Honor. His name is Mark Rosenberg.
And you're here, sir, and you're excused. Yes.
Oh, thank you.
Mm-hmm. All right, call the first case.
Calling Ramesh Suri, Roshani LLC, trading as Monumental Liquors, 2125 East Monument Street.
And you are, sir?
For the record, Melvin J. Kanansky representing the licensee.
All right.
Thomas Ackers on behalf of the Liquor Board, Your Honor. I spoke with counsel. I believe this is going to be an admission. I have my representative from the Comptroller's Office present.
That's correct, Your Honor. I've talked with the comptroller, and then we'd make an admission. And what we have that would be way in mitigation after you hear the facts.
All right, now, have you explained this to your clients, what the significance of an
Yes,
admission?
I've explained to them that by making the admission, they're admitting that what the controller says happened, and the only thing we would be able to do is explain to the board some things in way of mitigation. Is that correct? Yes. Okay.
All right.
I'm going to brief statement of facts, Your Honor. On April 6, 2015, approximately 9 a.m., Agent Pyle from Comptroller of Maryland Field Enforcement Division, standing to my left, conducting inspection of the establishment. While conducting the inspection, Agent Pyle discovered approximately and 50 containers of wine and spirits that were purchased by another licensee and warehoused at the establishment. When asked by agents from the comptroller as to who purchased the alcohol, wife of licensee of the establishment stated
that she had purchased them for her store located at 3600 Bel Air Avenue, but had stored them on the premises of the establishment located at 2125 East Monument Street. This time, Agent Powell informed the licensee that the storage of alcoholic beverages purchased by another licensee at the establishment located at 2125 East Monument Street was in violation of state law. All events occurred in Baltimore City, state of Maryland, and I'll be just introducing as evidence just exhibit number 1. This is the...
Exhibit 1 is a file, exhibit 2 is this one. Go ahead.
All events occurred in Baltimore City. That'll be your case, Your Honor.
Let me ask, and break my rule again and ask a question. What's the value of the money that they saved by this transferring from another establishment which they controlled?
The value was $1,865.
I'm talking about the tax value.
The tax value doesn't indicate for alcohol, sir, due to it wasn't sold. It wasn't transferred as far as money between each business.
It was the storage. They weren't doing anything, they kept storing it. You can, as a licensee, ask for, you tell me if I'm wrong, ask for, you have a big event, a special permit to store your alcohol somewhere else, but you gotta get a permit from the controller's office. These are husband and wife, and she had just
So
got...
they weren't saving any...
No, she was just, they were storing it where they didn't belong. She bought a store on Belair Road, and what happened was they were only open a few months.
But was she going to use it at her other location?
Yeah, eventually we're going to take it back to the other location.
Is that true? That's what your state case is?
Some of the products appeared to
Say?
Some of the products appeared that they were going to be sold at the Monument location.
And just for the record, who are you, sir?
Agent Pyle, Field Enforcement State Comptroller. Pierre, P-I-E-R-R-E.
All right. All right, Commissioner, questions? Oh, wait.
I have, other than...
Any cross-exam or anything?
No, we agree, and basically what I was saying is there was an error. They admitted it was a mistake. She didn't realize that she couldn't take her product and store it over at the other store. And it won't happen again. They lost the product. It was about $2,000, $1,800, $2,000.
$1,800,
Yeah,
yes, sir.
They lost the product. Gone.
What'd you do, confiscate it?
It's confiscated and be filed for forfeiture.
They use it Christmas time, I think they use it.
Yeah. Okay. Anything else?
No.
Questions of commissioners?
How long have they been in business?
One had been in business for since 09 or 10. The other one was just went in the end of the 14. It was a store on Blair Road, had been closed for a while, and they bought it and was just reopened in 14.
All right, so there's our notes show a violation from June 28, 2004, but that would have been a prior licensee, is that correct?
Correct.
Okay, so these licensees have no prior violation history.
I think that's correct.
At least we've not been...
This particular establishment has violations dating back to 2004.
Yeah,
But
that's
a
not
prior
us.
owner.
Prior owner.
Okay.
A different owner.
That's
Okay.
correct.
All right, thank you.
So your point is that there's...
This is their first violation.
First violation.
Right.
Mm-hmm. All right. Anything else?
No, I mean...
Mitigation, anything?
Yeah, I just think that, they made a mistake. They realized they had two stores they couldn't store. They know now if they're ever going to do that, they have to get a permit. They haven't been before. I used the Judge Jerome Robinson defense. It's a de minimis type thing, I would say. Do you remember Judge Robinson?
Sure, certainly. His brother used to own the Mount Royal Cafe on Mount Royal Avenue, and Robinson lived up on Mount Royal Avenue above North. No, I don't know him.
Okay. He would give you, I had a case with assault with a dandelion picker, and he wanted to give somebody life imprisonment, no chance of parole.
Now, let me ask you, is there any evidence here that they knew what they were doing?
Other than the statement, verbal statement she provided to me, that it was a mistake made, they thought they could transfer.
That's what they told you?
Yes, sir.
That's all.
Anything else?
That's all.
All right, commissioners, any questions?
Yeah, how did you get involved in this case?
We were conducting a routine alcohol and tobacco inspection in that particular area.
All right. Ready for its decision. $1,000 all suspended for $500 in view of the fact that the evidence, which I'm convinced is true. That's it, plus costs.
This is a first-time offender?
Yep.
So the most we can charge him is what, 500, Judge? 500.
Oh, is that right?
That's a personal.
Well, then $500 all suspended, but $250 then,
I concur.
plus costs.
I agree.
Can you write a check today? Okay.
So the total is 250 plus 125.
Three
And
seventy-five.
how much time do you need to
I
pay?
can write a check today.
Okay, all right,
All
fine.
right, thank you very much.
Mhm. All right, call the next case when he's ready. You ready?
Amico Incorporated, Lorraine Cummings, Mark Rosenberg, Frank Shawless, trading as Fantasies, 5220 Pennington Avenue. And if I may, if my officers are outside, can I just grab them?
Say that again?
My officers are outside, can I just tell them to come in?
Yeah. Mhm.
Mike, can you grab Your Honor, can we set up an easel for an exhibit that we're going to use?
Set up, sure.
Okay.
Sure.
Can we set it, Mike, can you grab it and set it up here?
How are you gonna, where are you gonna put it, right there?
Right, exactly, for the witness.
Tell me when you're ready.
Yes, Philip Chong of the law firm Dwayne Morris on behalf of Kimiko, trading as Fantasies Sports Bar and Nightclub.
And Tom Sackers on behalf of the Liquor Board. I'm going to call as my first witness, Detective Gato.
All right, go ahead.
Any preliminary, may I ask counsel a question?
Swear all the witnesses.
Raise your right hands, please.
Witnesses.
Anybody wants to testify?
Yeah. So you guys
Swear all the witnesses.
need to stand and come up.
Everybody raise your right hands. Do you swear or affirm the testimony you're about to give in this hearing will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? I do.
If I can ask just counsel, will you accept that all these officers work with the Vice Unit, are experts in ensuring compliance
With rules and regulations, state and local, of liquor licensing, liquor licensing rules and regulations, and are also experts in identifying prostitution, narcotics, et cetera, things in vice.
Sorry, can you say that again?
Will you agree to stipulate that these officers are experts, they're all detectives with the Vice Squad, in identification of prostitution practices, narcotics, and violations of liquor board rules and regulations?
Are they all members of the Vice Unit?
All of them are members of the Vice Unit. They're all detectives in the Vice Unit.
Then yes, we will stipulate for that.
All right, your name, sir, for the record.
My name,
Yeah.
Philip Chong of the law firm Dwayne Morris.
All right, your last name is spelled?
Chong, C-H-O-N-G.
Okay. And all right, they're now admitted as experts in the field of liquor violations in the city of Baltimore.
Thank you, Your Honor.
That's your correct examination.
Okay, Detective Gatto, I'm just going to point your attention to January 28th, 2015, approximately 9:30 p.m. Did you have the opportunity to visit an establishment known as Fantasies located at 5520 Pennington Avenue?
Yes, I did.
And what city and state is that located?
Baltimore City, state of Maryland.
And what was the purpose of your visit that evening?
I was conducting a undercover investigation for possible CDS activity and possible prostitution activity inside Fantasies nightclub.
Okay, if you could describe to the board what, if anything, occurred when you visited that location 9:30 that evening.
I entered the location. I met a security guard, which was to the right of me when I went in the door. He took my ID and I took a photograph of the ID. I paid a $5 cover fee. I then began mingling throughout the bar, buying drinks for myself, buying drinks for dancers. I became familiar with many of the various dancers and the different stage names that they went by.
Okay, and what did you do next?
During the course of my time being there, I observed two dancers going by the stage name of Lynn and Hazel. These dancers were different than the other dancers in the
what respect?
Club. They both danced in a duo instead of most of the dancers always danced by themselves. This combination always danced together.
Where were they dancing?
They danced on the center stage.
And if you could just describe to the board, what's the layout of this particular club?
When you walk into the club, the bar and the center stage would be right to your left. Directly behind, to the furthest back corner of the bar is a private area where you could go for lap dances. There are couches and seats there. To the far left would be, I believe, the changing rooms for the dancers, and then there's a men and women's bathroom back there.
Okay, I'm pointing your attention to these two specific dancers that were dancing together. Where were they dancing when you observed them?
They were dancing at the center stage.
Okay.
They were dancing what?
They were dancing at the center stage, sir.
And what, if anything, did you observe?
They both, as many dancers, all the dancers in there, they remove their clothing. Once they're completely naked, they perform their dance. The difference is with this duo, while they were dancing, one of the dancers who was known by her stage name as Hazel, she was later identified days later as Caitlin Moorhead, 9/24/1990, performing a act on her co-dancer, which would be Lynn, who was later identified as Caitlin Price. This act would be, while they were dancing, in the position they were in, I observed Hazel putting her mouth on the private area of Lynn, which would be her vagina. I could clearly see, as all the other patrons were sitting around the bar, could also see that her mouth and tongue were touching the private area of the other dancer.
Okay. Oh, what, if anything else, did you observe from the other dancer?
On
that date.
On that date, it continued. There was another time where Hazel, instead of the private vaginal area, she was putting her mouth on the breast of Lynn, pretty much sucking on her breast.
Okay. Where did this occur?
This occurred on the center stage of Fantasy's nightclub.
How far away were you when you made these observations?
Seated at the bar, I could say, honestly, I could ball up dollars and throw them onto the stage, so I'd say it was about...
Approximately how many feet?
Maybe 8 to 10 feet.
Okay. From right where maybe Commissioner Jones is seated, from where you are?
Yes.
Okay. And do you see both those individuals today here in the hearing room?
Yes, both ladies.
Can you please point them out?
They're both seated in the front seat.
Where, in the front, when you say the front seat, you mean?
Yes, Hazel is here, the first young lady, and the other young lady is Lynn as their stage name.
Okay, thank you. Just wanted that reflected in the record. After May, how long did these, just time-wise, did these events occur?
Oh, they occurred just when these girls were dancing. And if I'm there if I'm in the club for 2 or 3 hours, I'm going to see them dance. It's going to go through, all the other dancers are going to have time to go through their routine. So it's a possibility I could have seen them dance 2 or 3 times.
Okay.
On one particular night, depending on how long I was there.
Okay. And what, if anything, did you do after they finished dancing? Did you leave the location?
Yeah, I left. On that night, I left the location.
Okay. Were you alone the entire night, or was your squad with you?
I was alone.
Okay. All right. And when was the next date that you went to Fantasy's nightclub?
That would be February 12th, 2015, 2100 hours.
And again, what was the purpose of your visit?
Again, I was there investigating suspected narcotics transaction activity and possibility of prostitution.
And if you could describe to the board what, if anything, occurred on that date, I believe, at approximately 9 p.m.
Again, the same thing happened. Miss Hazel, a.k.a. Caitlin Moorhead, performing oral sex on the vaginal area of Lynn, a.k.a. Caitlin Price.
Okay, consistent with the first, similar to the first events that you saw?
Yes.
Okay, and this particular time, the second time, where were you seated? Where did this event occur, on the center stage?
It was on the center stage. I was seated on the back end of the bar.
Okay, approximately how far away were they?
8 to 10 feet.
Okay, all right. And after you made those, about how many times did this occur that particular evening?
I only saw one dance between the two of them, so I saw it one time.
Okay. And when was the next time you had an opportunity to visit Fantasy's nightclub?
It'd be February 21st, 2015 at 0006 hours, so it'd be, you know.
Just after midnight?
Yes, yes, sir.
Okay. And again, what was the purpose of your visit?
For more trying to investigate this suspected narcotics transactions and prostitution.
And what, if anything, did you observe when you were at that location on that date and time?
On this third date that I visited Fantasies, both Hazel and Lynn were dancing again on the center stage. They began, as I testified before, Hazel began performing oral sex on Caitlin during their dance. At this time, my unit was actually going to come into the location.
When you say my unit, what do you mean?
My sergeant and two other detectives that were involved in this case, Detective Akawande and Detective Greenhill.
Mm-hmm.
So while I was seated in there, the girls were actually on the stage, and I alerted my unit, you know, they're in here on the stage right now. And my unit entered the location, and actually two of the detectives, Detective Sergeant and Detective, observed the girls committing the act as I had observed.
What were they in uniform?
They were wearing a tactical vest which says police on the front, badge on the left chest, large white police written on the back. They have their duty weapon and all radio, you name it, all the different things that an officer would wear tactically.
And what, if anything, occurred once they entered the establishment?
The actions continued. I don't know if the dancers were aware that the officers were there, because of course they're engrossed in what they're doing. They have a job to do, so you know they're not necessarily paying attention to everyone that walks in the door. And only till the girls were, you know, my supervisor and the other detectives notified the security there and got management and staff, and advised that, you know, we need to speak to these two young ladies privately.
Okay. And in the 3 times that you were going there, in what capacity? Were you wearing a uniform? Or what were you working? In what capacity were you working all 3 times?
Undercover. I was wearing probably jeans, sweatshirt, T-shirt, hat, you know, something like that.
At any of those 3 instances, did you see any of the managers, any of the other dancers, any of the supervisors tell the dancers, Hazel and Lynn, to stop?
No, they did not.
Did you see any of the managers, supervisors take them off the stage, remove them, you know, have them put on their clothes? Were any actions taken?
No, my impression, and this is just my opinion, was that the 2 young ladies weren't aware that they were necessarily doing something that they weren't supposed to do, because when it would happen, people were cheering, people were, you know, it excited the crowd.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know if that's a situation where management should know better or not, but it continued. It was almost like it was a practice that it's what happened.
And so nobody stopped this?
No, never.
Okay. All right. Now, after Sergeant Leisher and Detective Akawande, after the members of your squad made these observations, what happened next?
I know they identified the young ladies, and they spoke with them privately or off to the side. They got their information. They got information from the bar and spoke to the manager, advised them what the issue was and why, you know, these things can't be going on. My unit left. I stayed there and continued mingling and buying drinks and doing different things with dancers. And then I left at around maybe 100 hours, maybe about an hour later.
And what happened on the 21st? What did you see?
Your Honor, again, I saw Miss Caitlin Moorhead, a.k.a. Hazel, performing oral sex on Miss Caitlin Price, a.k.a. Lynn, on the center stage.
Where?
At Fantasy's nightclub.
I know that. I mean, where on the body?
From her mouth to her vaginal area.
Okay. All right. Cross-exam, sir, if any.
Thank you, Your Honor. Detective, on January 28th, we're at the bar where he's sitting.
I was sitting towards the back end of the bar, which my back would have been facing the private area where they do lap dances.
Were you seated to the side of the bar, or?
I don't remember.
You don't remember?
The exact seat I was in. I mean, I was there several times.
Okay. How do you remember the lighting that night?
Everything that I wanted to see, I could see.
Was it dim?
I mean, it's not like a ball stadium, but I could see, people's faces, their eyes. I could see their body parts.
Were there any visual obstructions to the stage?
No.
Did you actually see Ms. Moorhead's lips touch Ms. Price's vagina that night?
Yes.
Did you see Ms. Moorhead's lips touch Ms. Price's anus that night?
It was in that vicinity.
What do you mean by in that vicinity?
Well, when her face is between the other young lady's legs, I could see one region, but her face was in the other. So it leads me to believe that the same thing occurred. It's just a little hard. It's a little lower of an area.
So you believe that you saw contact, but did you actually see contact?
I saw contact.
Okay.
I saw contact for the vaginal area, as I testified 3 times. And I know you're referring to some of the different things I wrote in my report. Her face was near the anal area, which is very close to that same vaginal area.
All right. Did you see Ms. Moorehead's tongue touch the vagina?
I saw her mouth and her lips out and on that private area, yes.
But the tongue on the vagina?
Yes.
Yes. What about the tongue on the anus?
That I can't testify that I saw that.
Okay. Can you describe for me what position Ms. Moorhead and Ms. Price were in when these alleged acts occurred?
Well, one of the first occasion was.
Sorry, I'm speaking about the 28th.
Yeah, the 20. I am too. The first occasion, before the girls start dancing, they usually clean the poles there because there was a previous dancer, may have sweated. They want to keep it clean and sanitized. So when Lynn was cleaning the pole, she was bent over, and Hazel came out and from behind began performing oral sex on her vagina. This is before the music even started playing.
Sorry, I'm just reading your report. So looking at the report, it says, during the 2 songs that Lynn and Hazel danced, both females removed all their clothing. Once their clothing was completely removed, they were both naked, and your writer observed Hazel, who was later identified as Caitlin Moorhead, performing a sex act on Lynn. So did the alleged acts of oral sex occur when they were dancing and when music was on, or before that?
Well, I didn't go into complete detail because it happened several times during the dance. But if you want the exact, it happened once before the music started, and then once because basically she could walk, the girl's wearing a G-string, she can just walk up to it and pull it aside, and, that's what happened. Now, while the music was playing and they were dancing, they danced on 2 separate poles, but then at one point they come together, sir, and they are on the ground or doing different movements, and then at that time, Hazel performed oral sex on Lynn.
All right, so what position were they in the second time?
As I remember, Lynn was sitting on her rear end and her legs were spread, and Hazel's face was down between her legs.
Okay. I want to talk about February 12th. Do you remember where you were sitting that night at the bar?
I don't remember the exact seat I was sitting in. I know I was there.
Do you remember approximately how far you were away that night when you saw these alleged acts?
As I've testified, about approximately it's 8 to 10 feet away.
Okay. Remember how the lighting was?
I could see everything I needed to see.
Was the lighting dim?
No.
Were there any visual obstructions to the stage?
Not at all, sir.
Did you see Ms. Moorhead's lips touch Ms. Price's vagina?
Yes, I did.
What about her anus?
I can't directly testify that I saw that, but it was in that vicinity.
What about Ms. Moorhead's tongue on Ms. Price's vagina?
Yes.
What about Ms. Moorhead's tongue on Ms. Price's anus?
No, I cannot testify to that.
Can you describe for me what position they were in when you saw these alleged acts occur?
As I remember, it was the same position. At one point, Mrs. Price was seated, and then Ms. Moorhead was performing oral sex with her head between her legs.
At any point during these alleged acts of oral sex, was Ms. Price laying on the ground, not just seated, but laying on the ground?
I don't remember that exactly. It's a possibility, but I can't remember the exact position they were in. I just know, my memory is to the act, and I was, as I'm testifying here, I'm remembering how I was looking to make sure that she was actually using her lips and her tongue to do what she was doing.
Okay. Detective, I just want to get some clarification about your written report. Again, sticking with February 12th, you wrote, during this time, your writer observed Caitlin Moorhead, Hazel performing oral sex on the anal and vaginal region. So you testified that you couldn't see the lips or tongue of Ms. Moorhead touching Ms. Price's anus, yet you wrote that. Can you explain that for us, please?
Well, as you can see, it says region, and as I testified, her face, her mouth was in that region.
Okay.
If her lips are just touching that area, I mean, I don't want to be crude here, but if you're familiar with the female anatomy of a woman, the anus is right next to the vagina, very close. So when their face is in that region, that's the reason I wrote my report that way, because her mouth was right there and her face was moving around, and so that's why my report reflects that way.
Thank you. Moving to the last date, February 21. Do you remember where at the bar you were seated when you saw these alleged acts of oral sex occur?
Yes, sir. On this occasion, I was seated. As soon as you walk in, the security booth is right to your right. There is a set of seats just to your left. I would say it's maybe the head of the table. I was seated right there, and that way, when my unit came in, they could see they were right over my shoulder.
Okay. So you were sitting close to the door?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Approximately how far away were you
from
the alleged acts of oral sex occurring on stage?
Sir, 8 to 10 approximate feet.
Again, how was the lighting that evening?
It was very good.
Very good.
I could see what I needed to see.
Were there any visual obstructions to the stage?
No, sir.
That night, did you see Ms. Moorhead's lips touch Ms. Price's vagina?
I did.
What about her anus?
I cannot testify that it was only in the region.
Did you see Ms. Moore's tongue touch Ms. Price's vagina?
Yes.
What about her anus?
No, I cannot testify, only to the region.
Okay. No further questions.
Call your next witness.
I'm calling Sergeant Leisher. Sergeant Leisher, did you have an occasion to visit the club known as Fantasies, located at 5520 Pennington Avenue on February 21st, 2015?
Yes, I did.
What were the circumstances of the visit that evening?
We were there with the health department conducting an inspection, as well as I had an undercover inside finishing up a case that he was working on.
Who was that undercover?
Detective Gatto.
Okay. And what were the purposes of his investigation as his supervisor, best of your knowledge?
Initially, his investigation began as a narcotics investigation as well as a prostitution investigation.
Who that evening, were you ever called in by Detective Gatto to make any observations?
Yes, when we arrived with the health department, Detective Gatto was already inside. However, we were waiting outside to see if the girls that he had previously seen together were inside, and then he identified or advised us that they were and that they were on stage.
What did you do upon receiving that advisement?
Then entered the location.
How were you dressed?
I was wearing a raid vest, as police very big on the front and police very big on the back. It's a black tactical vest.
Was your badge displayed?
Yes.
An ID?
Yes.
Okay. And were you with any other police officers?
Yes, Detective Greenhill, Detective Akawande, as well as members of the health department.
How were they dressed?
Same as I was.
Okay. And upon entering the location, what, if anything, did you observe?
We went in, obviously we saw the security guys. We asked to speak to the manager. When I walked in, I saw the two young ladies there on stage performing.
When you say the two young ladies, can you please, are they present today? And
Yes,
can you
the
please
two
point
right
them
there.
out to the board?
The two right there in the front row.
Okay. The record reflect, Sergeant has identified those individuals. What did you, if any, what? He
The
identified
two young ladies right there.
The two young
in the
ladies
front
as
row.
the dance. Can you please stand?
My name is Caitlin Price.
Okay, go ahead.
And these are the individuals that you observed
Yes,
that
they were on
day.
stage together, yes.
And what, if anything, did you observe when you
I walked in, they were dancing together. The one young lady, I'm sorry, I forgot the first one's name. She was on all fours, and the other girl was touching her and had her face in her private region.
What do you mean?
I did not see her tongue enter anything.
Okay, okay.
But I saw her mouth in the exact area where her vagina would be. And then as I was standing there, and she never once stopped, she then took her mouth around to the anus area.
Okay, all right. And upon making those observations, what, if anything, did you do?
Then once the manager came, I had him get the girls off stage so I could speak to both of them as well as him.
How long did this take, or how long did this activity go on stage before the manager came?
Probably about 5 minutes or so.
Okay. And once the manager came, what, if anything, happened?
I then spoke to the manager and advised him what they were doing. And I told him, you know that that's not allowed. And he said, well, it's a strip club, things happen.
And after he made that statement, what, if anything, did the young women do?
They came over and I talked to them. The one was very cooperative, the other one not so much, but they both ended up giving me their information and things like that. I advised both of them they weren't allowed to do what they were doing. They both said they had no idea.
Okay.
They said they thought they were allowed to at the strip club. And they didn't think there was any rules.
How far away were you when you made these observations of the women?
Less than 20 feet. I walked in the front door, kind of walked to the corner of the bar. I mean, you walk through the front door, you can't miss it. I mean, two girls doing that, kind of hard to miss. And then I walked approximately about 5 feet away from the bar, and I saw them performing.
Where would be a point that you could point to, as far away as the court reporter is?
Yes.
Okay. All right. All right. No further questions for this witness.
Cross.
Thank you, Your Honor. Sergeant, where exactly were you sitting or standing when you saw the alleged acts of oral sex occur?
I walked in the front door and basically went to the front corner of the bar.
Approximately how far away were you?
Less than 20 feet, I'll say 15 feet maybe.
Okay. How was the lighting?
It was fine. I mean, it wasn't bright, but it was, you can clearly see everything going on.
Were there any visual obstructions to the stage?
No, there's patrons sitting there, but I'm not the tallest guy, I got to see over top of them.
Did you see Ms. Moorhead's lips touch Ms. Price's vagina?
No, I just saw it in the region. I saw her face in the region. Her back was her backside was facing me more so than that, I guess you could say.
Can you, whose backside was facing you?
This, the young lady here, her backside was facing me.
The one who was performing oral sex?
No. I don't know their names.
They're both named Caitlin.
Right. I'm sorry. Price, her mouth was on the other young lady's body.
On the other lady's what?
Body.
I think we might be mistaken. So the report states that Ms. Moorhead's Ms. Moorhead was performing oral sex on Ms. Price?
I didn't write a report.
You don't write? All right, so you're testifying.
Just to clarify, they do touch each other and go back and forth, so you'll see multiple, not multiple, each person touching the other.
So did each dancer perform oral sex on one another?
When I was there, no, I wasn't there that long. They performed for a couple minutes when I was there. I didn't make the same observations as the undercover did. I strictly came in, obviously, very short time frame in terms of the act that it was occurring.
So during the acts that you saw, were Ms. Moorhead and Ms. Price giving each other oral sex?
No, I did not see both of them.
Okay, so who was performing oral sex on who?
Price. Okay. Price. Okay, Price was touching the other one.
So Ms. Price was performing oral sex on Ms. Moorhead.
Okay, I'm getting twisted with their names because they're both named Caitlin. The second one farthest away, she was touching the other one. I didn't see her tongue inside of her, nothing like that. I strictly saw the face in the area. I did not see her mouth actually on her. I saw it in the region.
All right, no further questions.
Any other witnesses?
Okay, let me just show you from Marcus Exhibit number 1. Are you familiar with this? Right, and you approved it,
Yes.
correct? Okay, just moving in cabinets.
All right, you show it to him?
He has a copy.
All right. Mark it, Exhibit 1. Anything else?
One final witness, Technical Columbia. Will be quick. Technical Columbia, did you have an opportunity to be working on February 21st, 2015?
Yeah, qualify him.
He already stipulated.
It was,
This one?
as to all
As
of
to
them.
That's all
all
of them.
detectives in
Okay.
the vice unit.
And let him be admitted as an expert in the field of sexual practices in violation of liquor board rules and so forth. And go ahead with and you've admitted this, is that right, sir?
Correct.
All right, go ahead with your direct examination.
Thank you, Your Honor. Just getting back to the question, you had an opportunity to be working February 21st, 2015.
I did.
And what were your duty assignments that day?
I was in full raid gear, responding to an undercover investigation that we're holding at Fantasies Nightclub.
And did you ever have an opportunity to enter into Fantasies nightclub?
I did.
And what were the circumstances which brought you into Fantasies nightclub?
It was initially, this is the end of our investigation. There was an undercover in the club, and my sergeant, along with the rest of our unit, were there to identify the females that were conducting sexual acts on stage.
Okay, when you entered into the location, what, if anything, did you observe?
When I entered the location, I saw, the first thing I observed was, what I paid attention to was our undercover and where he was seated to the stage. And the next thing I observed were the two individuals sitting right there in the front, performing what I would call softcore porn on stage.
Okay, how far away were you?
I was about the same distance as my sergeant, so about 15 feet.
So about from where you're standing to a court reporter?
That is
on
correct.
hand? Okay. And what, if anything, did you observe from there?
Well, as soon as we noticed that, the next thing we're trying to do is stop the act. So we got.
What's that?
It was, what it looked like to me was oral sex was being performed on stage between the two, between Mrs. Moorhead and Ms. Caitlin. Her stage name is Lynn.
Okay. Okay. And how long did how long did you make these observations for?
It went on for about 5 minutes till we can get them from stage.
And did anybody try to stop them in between the manager coming and the manager coming to?
Not that I
both you?
observed. We put an end to that act.
Okay. No further questions. Mr. Witness.
Ross?
Thank you, Your Honor.
No.
Detective, where were you sitting or standing when you saw the alleged acts of oral sex occur?
About 15 feet away.
I'm sorry, I'm going to misspoke. Where were you sitting?
I was standing.
Yeah.
About
Where were
15
you?
I was standing about 15 feet away with a clear view of the stage.
Well, where in relation to the bar were you standing? Do you remember?
I was standing about a little bit off to the right of the bar. I mean, a little bit right off the stage.
Okay. How was the lighting that night?
The lighting was pretty good.
What do you mean pretty good?
In other words, I could see everybody's faces. I could see the stage clearly. I could see everything that was going on in the stage, because that's the whole point of a club like that. You can't. It wouldn't be a good club if you can't see anything that's going on.
Were there any visual obstructions to the stage?
No, not. I could see everything clearly because I was standing over everybody.
Can you explain what you mean by that? You were standing over everybody?
Well, I was standing, and most of the patrons that were in front of me were sitting. Actually, all the patrons that were in front of me were sitting. The stage is a little bit higher off the ground, so I could see clearly everything.
Okay. Did you see Ms. Moorhead's lips touch Ms. Price's vagina?
I didn't clearly see that I wasn't that close to their act, but her head, Mrs. Moorhead's head was in that area, and it was emulating Kalinga's.
Okay.
In what area?
In Mrs. Caitlin, the lady with the highlights, private regions, her vagina area.
Did you see Ms. Moorhead's lips touch Ms. Price's anus?
Like I said, I could not see that clearly. I didn't run up to the stage to make sure that that was going on, but I could see her head in that area. I assumed that that was what was going on.
Did you see Ms. Moorhead's tongue touch Ms. Price's vagina?
Like I previously said, no. What I did see was the act.
Did you see Ms. Moorhead's tongue touch Ms. Price's anus?
No, I did not see that.
Okay. No further questions.
Anything else?
No further witnesses from the medical side.
All right. Go ahead, sir.
All right.
Your case.
Yes. Caitlin Price? Ms. Price, can you please state your full name for the record, please?
Caitlin Marie Price.
Are you currently employed?
Yes.
Where do you work?
Fantasies Nightclub and Green Turtle.
Sticking with Fantasies, what do you do there?
I'm a dancer.
When did you start dancing at Fantasies?
Mid to late January.
Do you know Caitlin Moorhead? She goes by the stage name Hazel.
Yes, I do.
How do you know her?
I met her at the club.
Have you danced together with Miss Moorhead on stage?
Yes.
When you were performing with Miss Moorhead on stage, did Miss Moorhead ever perform oral sex on you?
No.
Now, why wouldn't she perform oral sex on you?
Well, we're entertainers. We simulate things that we think that the men would enjoy, but we are sweaty, and neither one of us would want to actually do that at that moment.
Thank you. So when you performed together with Miss Moorhead on stage, did she ever put her face near your vagina or anus?
Near it.
Okay. How close?
Half an inch, maybe.
But did it ever touch it?
No.
Okay. Could you describe the routines that would cause Miss Moorhead's face to be close to your vagina or anus?
Well, you know, we kind of made it up as we went. We became close friends, and you know, she would kind of instruct me to lay on my back and open my legs. And she has very long hair, and she would simulate as though she was performing oral sex. I know that I probably have done similar things.
Okay. Why did you perform such a routine?
Because guys like it.
Okay. So during these routines, how or why would someone believe that Ms. Moorhead was actually performing oral sex on you?
Objection, speculation.
Yes, sustained.
Okay. No further questions.
Cross.
Okay.
If any. Next witness.
All right. Caitlin Moorhead, please.
Hello.
Ms. Moorhead, can you please state your full name for the record, please?
Yes, it's Caitlin Brooke Moorhead.
Are you currently employed?
Yes, I run a cleaning business.
How are you connected to Fantasies?
I used to work there.
What did you do there?
I'm sorry?
What did you do at Fantasies?
I was a dancer.
When-
Get to the mic, please. See the mic?
I was a dancer.
Yes, go closer.
Okay.
When did you start dancing at Fantasies?
It was towards the end of December.
When did you stop?
I worked there for 3 months, so I guess the beginning of March.
Okay. Why did you stop?
Because I just didn't feel like it was appropriate taking my clothes off in front of people that I didn't know, to be honest. And I was keeping it a secret from people I cared about, and I don't like doing things like that. So I felt it was best to just find a job elsewhere.
Okay, thank you. Do you know Caitlin Price? She goes by the stage name Lynn.
Yes, I do.
How do you know her?
I met her. She started working there shortly after I did, and we became pretty good friends.
Did you ever dance on stage together with her?
Yes, we often did dance on stage together.
So when you performed together with Miss Price on stage, did you ever perform oral sex
No,
on Miss
never.
Price?
I've never performed oral sex on her on stage
Now, why didn't you?
because it's wrong and it's disgusting, and that is prostitution.
Okay.
And the floor's filthy, and why would I want random men watching me do something like that? It's bad enough I'm taking my clothes off in front of them.
Okay. So when you performed on stage together with Miss Price, did you ever place your face near her vagina or anus?
Yes, I have placed my face near it because we would undress each other. So she would lay on her back and like we were saying, like she was saying earlier, spread her legs, and I would take my fingers on her G-strings and use my mouth to pull down the front of her underwear and slide them off, which my hair would be basically dragging along her stomach while I was doing so.
Okay. So when you were performing these type of routines, when you were close to her vagina or anus, how close would your face get to her vagina or anus?
It would be pretty close, but I mean, I didn't actually touch her vagina, especially that private area.
Now, why did you perform such a routine with her?
To be honest, it was more exciting for the guys. You know, they would tip well. I felt more comfortable being on stage with her rather than alone.
Okay, no further questions.
Okay.
Cross?
Just a couple. How long, has your hair always been that long? Or
No, it's been a lot longer.
How long is it?
It was about almost to my
At the time
behind.
of the incident?
Yes.
Okay. Do you ever recall seeing Detective Gatto at all?
I remember seeing this gentleman, but not that gentleman, no, I don't believe so.
And were you ever told by management that whatever kind of entertainment that you were doing with, did you go by Hazel or Lynn?
Hazel.
Hazel. That any of the entertainment that you were doing with Lynn should be stopped or may have been potentially been illegal? Did any managers ever tell you to stop doing what you were doing?
Well, there was discussion about what do's and not do's to do. We also had signed a contract stating, you know, what you can and cannot do on stage as well. Also, yes, I do remember Cal saying, because one time I, you know, was just kind of caressing her while we were dancing with each other. Right there, Caitlin.
Okay.
You know, nothing serious, just, you know, dancing together. And Cal actually, you know, had said, you guys can't touch each other. It's against the rules. It was mainly just, you know, right here in this area.
Do you recall how many times your manager had a conversation with you like that? Couple times?
It was twice. I mean, because when you're on stage in the heat of the moment, you're dancing, you don't tend to think, you know, when girls are out, they touch each other's hips and dance on each other. You know, it's common. So it's just we didn't have clothes on. So it was harmless.
And do you recall ever being called off stage when the officers were present and told that you shouldn't be doing, you know, that kind of dancing? You recall, I think it's February 21st?
I recall after our set, we were able to finish our set. We got off stage before collecting the tips, Caitlin and I, and there was officers in vests there that wanted our IDs, and you know, we were worried, so Caitlin right here was questioning, you know, what was going on, and you know, they said you can't be touching each other like that. And I said, well, I didn't think it was a big deal, me dancing with her, you know, basically just touching her sides and stuff like that. And he said, no, that's not allowed, no touching's allowed. And I told him I didn't have my ID at the time. I had just misplaced it somewhere. Caitlin did, so one of the officers escorted her to her car. And they wrote my information down, and that was all that I spoke with them. It's the only thing that happened.
Okay, but so before that conversation, you didn't know that touching Lynn, the way you were touching Lynn previous, all the way up to that, for the last, it would be like 2 months prior, correct? Because you worked there 3 months?
Yeah, I worked there 3 months. I mean, I knew, obviously, you can't, you know, perform sexual acts on stage. That's prostitution. Men are giving you money to see, to, you know, watch you guys, but it was entertainment. Like I said, Cal has told me, you know, you can't touch her breast, you can't, you know, touch on her bottom or her, you know, vagina area, but basically you could, you know, just like right here in this area, and the cop told me I wasn't allowed to do that.
Okay. All right.
But there was no talk about sexual acts.
When did you leave Fantasies?
I would say it was in March,
So
I would say.
maybe 2 weeks after this event occurred? This happened in late February.
Late February, so it was probably about a month after the event occurred.
And do you work there at all anymore?
No, I haven't worked there at all in the past couple of months, but I mean, the reason why I came is because it's not Trill. I never committed any sexual acts on her, and she didn't either for me. That's why I came here, because I wanted to clear my name, and I wanted to tell the truth. And I didn't want Mr. Cal getting in trouble for something that did not happen. You know, we're entertainers, and it's supposed to look like that. And that's why it looked like that, because we make it look like we're doing so.
No further questions from this witness.
Okay.
Anything across?
No.
Redirects and
None, Your Honor.
any other witnesses?
Yes, one more.
All right, you may have a seat, ma'am.
Mr. Brockdorf? Could you please state your full name for the record, please?
Yes, Calvin Brockdorf,
Spell your last name, please.
Brockdorff.
Are you currently employed?
Yes.
Where do you work?
I manage at Fantasies nightclub and other businesses that are unrelated.
Were you manager at Fantasies during the during the times of the alleged acts at issue in this case?
Yes, I was.
Okay.
I was the manager that Sergeant Leicester spoke with, actually.
Exhibit A, please.
Thank you.
Mr. Brockdorf, I've given you and Mr. Akris a copy of a document which has been pre-marked as Exhibit A. Do you recognize it?
Yes, I do.
What is it?
It's an architectural to-scale drawing of the floor plan of the club.
Okay. I noticed that there's some markings in purple on this exhibit. Can you describe what those are?
Yes. What we did was we took this drawing, and from the center stage area where the girls were performing their act, I randomly made measurements of the distance from where the patrons sit and where the one officer was sitting and where the other officers came in. And the shortest distance, if they were sitting directly in the one single seat that was directly facing that area, the shortest distance is about 13 feet.
Okay.
What date are you saying that the officers were there? There are 3 separate dates.
Well, I was
this is
not
my direct.
aware of.
Sorry.
That's what I'm saying.
No, your interruption is
Yeah.
improper.
I
You
apologize.
have your opportunity to ask questions. Go ahead, sir, you're correct.
Thank you. Mr. Brockdorf, is Exhibit A true and accurate floor plan of Fantasies at the time of the incidents at issue here?
Yes, it is.
Are the distance measurements marks on Exhibit A true and accurate?
Yes, they are.
How do you know they are true and accurate?
Because I personally performed the measurements.
Okay. Your Honor, I ask that Exhibit A be moved into evidence.
Mark, give it to me so I can have it marked.
So they've all been pre-marked. I also have a courtesy copy for each of the commissioners and Ms. Bailey
All right.
Hespeth.
So, Exhibit 1 for the defense, collectively.
I have no objection to the floor plan itself, but I would like to know a little more about the markers.
Okay.
That's gone across.
So,
Have the commissioner show it to you after she gets it marked.
there's 5 copies in there. I think there should be enough.
Are they all
I
the
don't know why you
same?
guys don't.
Yes, they're all the
do
same.
a paper clip. You guys-
Okay. And Your Honor, we've just placed an enlarged copy of Exhibit A on this foam board in front of the commission. Mr. Brockdorf, can you please describe the layout of Fantasies, please?
Well, this would be the entrance area where everyone comes in and security is stationed immediately to the right. And then all of the patrons sit at a large bar that surrounds this main stage where the entertainers perform. There are pool tables back here and a couple of tables that occasionally patrons will sit at in a farther removed area. But most of the time, virtually all the patrons are seated at the chairs immediately surrounding the bar.
Okay. If 2 dancers wanted to simulate oral sex, where on stage is that likely to occur?
About the only
Overruled. Go ahead, sir.
about the only place that it would really, that I have personally witnessed it occur, and about the only place that's really feasible to occur is right in the center of the stage, because there are poles here and here, and it's the only space where there's enough distance for a dancer to lay down and another dancer to be with her.
All right. So assuming that 2 dancers are simulating oral sex on stage, what is the closest distance-wise that a patron could be to that performance?
Well, the one seat that's the single most direct view to the stage is 13 feet. However, the majority of them are significantly more. This particular seat, I just took some random samples, was 18 feet. This particular seat is 19 feet. This seat is 24 feet. The stage and bar is perfectly symmetrical, so the measurements would, apply proportionately to. So the closest is 13, the farthest is as much as 24, 25 feet.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Brockdorf, have customers complained about difficulty seeing performances on stage?
Customers have mentioned to me on multiple occasions 2 things: that the stage is untypically far away for that type of an establishment, and that with the relatively dim lighting that it is sort of difficult to see the entertainers as well as they would normally like to. And in addition to personal comments. Social media review sites are a very important part of business and a way for customers to express their opinions about the establishment. And we have quite a few reviews on social media from customers spanning 3, 4, 5 years, where customers comment how difficult it is to see the stage and it's so far away. And if you
Okay, so Mr. Brockdorf, given you, and I've given Mr. Akris a 3-page document which has been pre-marked as Exhibit B. Do you recognize this document?
Yes, I do.
Well,
I have to see it then in order to rule. And you're proposing this document for what reason?
well, it's the social media reviews regarding the distance from the stage. It's third-party opinions regarding the lighting, the distance, and the views.
It's not relevant to this, to the facts at hand on the 3 dates that occurred.
Well, I'll take it question by question.
Okay.
I don't know what he's going to do.
So, Mr. Brockdorf, what is Exhibit B?
The first page is there are 2 primary social review sites. One is Google reviews and one is Yelp. And this is a Google user that posted a review of the club several years ago.
Now, what about the second and third pages of the document? What are those?
The second page would be a Yelp review from June of 2014, and the third page would be a Yelp review from 2011.
So these are all social media reviews of Fantasy's Nightclub, correct?
Yes, they are.
How do you know that?
Because I personally go and review the social comments to see what people are saying about the club and see if there are areas that we need to respond to or improve.
Okay. Your Honor, I ask that composite Exhibit B be moved into evidence. I also have a courtesy copy for the commission, if it's submitted.
All right, we'll give them to the my commissioners so they can see what we're talking about.
Okay. I'll just renew my objection.
It's very interesting. Recently, there was a federal court decision on this very point. Are you familiar with this?
No, Your Honor.
Are you familiar with it, counsel? Anybody? All these lawyers around me? Hmm?
I have a feeling you're going to tell us about it.
You're right. Well, it's very interesting. The world is changing, and certainly my world, and the federal court held that if they were properly identified, that Google was admissible. And I frankly admit that I did not read the decision original. I only read the newspaper story covering it. But in this particular case before us, you're introducing this for the purpose of what?
To demonstrate that third parties believe that the lighting is dim and that the stage, it's hard to view the performances on stage.
One of the things in the case that was written up in the paper was it had to be identified as the person who did it.
Your Honor, I would just say these, first of all, Your Honor, these are excerpts taken. One was 4 years ago, one was last year, and one was back in 2011, Your Honor. And we don't have any of the third-party users here. They're not here to testify. We can't corroborate anything. These are just things pulled off the internet, Your Honor.
Well, I think
object that this is irrelevant hearsay.
Well, the rules of evidence first don't apply, but second, it's the third-party reviews. I mean, it's a neutral party who's giving an opinion about the club, and I think the fact that it spans 4 years is indicative of how the club has been run. And also, as Mr. Akris pointed out, the most recent review comes from June of last year. So.
Well, I'm going to sustain the objection, and I'm going to tell you why. Because of the number of facts that are contained in these Google or whatever they are, electronic measurements and so forth, and actually introduce as testimony in this case. You've gone way beyond in the information contained here, and it's not my job to separate out which is which, although you have used red ink on some things, like you need binoculars to see them well. But see, we have no definition of what well is or what kind of binoculars and so forth. So to me, I'm going to sustain the objection because, first of all, there's much too much information. It's not proved and has nothing to do with this case. And it's not specific enough, which the federal court was clear. You had to be specific.
and had to show identity of the person who did it and what it was. And these three don't do that, so therefore it's sustained.
All right, thank you.
Keep it in the record as for my decision. Go ahead, next case, next issue, whatever it is.
Mr. Brockdorf, how would you describe the lighting inside Fantasies?
Typical nightclub lighting, much dimmer than the lighting that is present in this room.
Okay.
Incidentally, it was in a federal appeals court case. It was not a lower court. I can't remember the which one. Very recent, yeah.
I'd just like to say
very unusual. First time in the United States that I know of an appellate appeals court decision on that issue. We're moving into a different direction, obviously.
Yes. So, Mr. Brockdorf, I've given you and Mr. Akris a copy of a document which has been pre-marked as Exhibit D. We've skipped over Exhibit C, so we're at Exhibit D now. Do you recognize this document?
Yes, I do.
Can you please describe for us what it is?
On a Sunday afternoon, I reached out to a photographer, a professional photographer, and we went into the location, and we had one of the young ladies here and another lady recreate simulated acts that were occurring at the time of the last officer's visit. And what we attempted to show, they don't have the, should we give it? What we attempted to show is the actual lighting that is present during the time of operation, and then show what the appearance is from the customer's perspective versus a much closer perspective that actually shows what is truly happening.
So just to be clear, are these actual photographs of the alleged acts of oral sex at issue in this case?
This is an exact, I would say, recreation.
So it's a recreation, is a demonstrative?
Pardon?
It's as an example?
Yes.
Okay. Who took these photos?
Well, the top photos were taken by the photographer, and the bottom photos were simultaneously taken by me.
Okay, so just to be clear, in all four of these photos, the two dancers are in the same position, correct?
Correct.
Are you aware of anything regarding the staging or editing of these photos that would make it misleading from the way you've described it?
I can say they definitely were not edited or manipulated in any way.
Okay. Your Honor, I ask that Exhibit D be moved into evidence.
Let me see it. Show it. You've seen it?
I have it in front of me now. This
Okay.
is a recreation of potentially the events that occurred that night. These aren't taken from that night. These aren't at the time of the incidents on either date.
Okay, well, let me ask you what you're trying to show by these photographs.
It's simply an illustration that the alleged acts of oral sex, the simulated oral sex, is very convincing and very real. It's very convincing and very real, depending on what position you're in, the obstructions from the bar and from the lighting. It's simply a demonstrative. We're not asking that it be admitted as the actual photographs of the incidents, but simply as an example of the simulated oral sex acts that occur.
I'm going to let it in for whatever it's worth. Mark it.
All right. Mr. Brockdorf, could you please explain what is occurring in these photos, please?
What is occurring is...
these are photos that aren't...
The photographs speak for themselves. Ejection sustained.
Okay.
Well, I've already ruled.
Okay.
Go ahead. Next question.
Okay.
I think he allowed them in.
The photographs are in. The question is out.
Okay.
The question is out.
Okay. So just a few more questions. Mr. Brockdorf, do you believe that Ms. Moorhead performed oral sex on Ms. Price?
Objection. I couldn't hear the question.
Do you believe that Ms. Moorhead performed oral sex on Ms. Price?
Sustained. That's why I leave it there.
Okay. Do you believe that a patron could mistakenly believe that oral sex was not occurring on stage?
Objections.
Sustained.
Okay.
Speculative.
No further questions.
Can I just mention that I
No, sir, you
was-
have to wait
okay.
for your lawyer's questions.
Okay.
You can't ad lib. You can speak to him, though.
Okay. Can I ask one follow-up question, please?
Yes.
All right. Mr. Brockdorf, were you present on the last night in issue, February 21, 2015?
When the officers came in, yes, I was.
Okay. Did you see Ms. Moorhead and Ms. Price performing on stage?
Yes, I did.
Okay. Can you describe what they were doing?
They were simulating oral sex.
Okay. What type of position were they in?
The position that's depicted in the photograph.
Okay. Now,
But they weren't dressed.
Correct. We had them dressed.
I see, yeah,
for-
okay. But that's the actual picture of the location.
Yes, actual
But you
photograph.
haven't identified where the officers were with respect to the diagrams you've given us.
well, they couldn't recall. They were seated, or they were at the bar somewhere, but
At the bar,
yeah.
okay. Go ahead, I don't want to try your case, I'm
Yeah.
just,
okay. Can we get Exhibit A back up?
what are you doing?
We're asking for large Exhibit A to come back up, so that we can show where this photograph was taken from the bar.
This photograph, the top photographs, one photograph just zoomed in. The top photograph was taken from approximately this location.
All right,
And the bottom photograph was taken by me inside the bar well area to provide a better angle and close-up of what actually was happening.
okay, go ahead, sir.
Okay.
You finished?
Yes.
With this
Yeah,
witness?
no further questions, yes.
Mr. Cross?
Just a couple questions. So, Mr. Brockdorf, you weren't present January 28, 2015 at 9:30 when the events took place at the bar.
I am not certain. I may have been, but I cannot.
But you don't recall?
I can't say that I definitely was.
Okay. And you were not present, or you don't remember being present, on February 12, 2015, approximately, again, 9 p.m., when the second time these
I
events
may or
occurred.
may not have been there,
And
yes.
you don't recall. And on February 21st, 2015, where were you when the detectives asked for you?
Actually, I don't recall them actually asking for me. I was near the front door area when they happened to come in.
Mm-hmm.
So naturally, for lack of a better description, it looked like something was up.
Mm-hmm.
And I was walking with them and discussing, what they were here. They had the health inspector there, and the health inspector performed a health inspection, and I was...
Did you accompany the health inspector to the kitchen?
I spoke at length with the health inspector, yes.
Okay, so you weren't necessarily watching the performance while the officers were there the whole time. You may have been with the health inspector and then came back.
Actually, there was a point in time when they were performing that I was speaking with the sergeant about what was occurring on stage while it was occurring on stage, and he made the comment to me that that was not allowed, and my response was that simulated activity was allowed. And so the when I spoke to the health inspector, my recollection was not when these two individuals were actually performing on stage.
And did you ever have any previous occurrences where you had to talk to either of the dancers about things that they may have been doing wrong while performing?
We frequently speak to the dancers about what is and isn't allowed.
How often?
Well, we hold a couple of staff meetings yearly that are mandatory attendance for everyone. And then in between those meetings, obviously, we will have new girls begin and stuff, and we'll speak to them individually.
Specifically to these two dancers, do you recall any times that you had to talk to these two dancers, and how many occasions in total, where you told them that they may have been breaking, the rules, or you had to remind them they're breaking the rules?
Actually, I do recall speaking to them. I don't recall speaking to them in a fashion where I was instructing them that what they were doing was breaking the rules. Most of my conversations are, you're getting pretty close. I want to be clear, this is what you can and cannot do. Let's not have any issues. So I have to tell you, I don't recall sort of reprimanding them, if that's what you're saying, you did something wrong.
Okay, all right. No further questions for this witness.
Any other witnesses?
No, that's all, Your Honor.
All right, so all evidence is in.
Just have one rebuttal. Oh, sorry, apologize.
another witness?
I have a rebuttal witness for one question, Your Honor. Just one, for Detective Gatto.
What's the rebuttal question?
Has to do with hair. And was Miss Moore, because everybody's been talking about long hair and hair being obstructing, was Miss Moore? That's it. That's it. On any of the 3 occasions, Detective, did Miss Moorhead or Miss Price's hair obstruct your view of any of the oral sex that occurred? Those on all 3 occasions? No. Thank you. That's it.
Question, any cross?
None.
All right, all evidence is in.
Correct.
All right. Questions of commissioners? Mr. Jones.
Yes. Mr. Brockdorf?
Yes, sir.
You made a comment. You say you read the reviews because you like to see how you can improve the industry.
We like to see what people are criticizing it about the club. We like to see what people are complimenting the club about.
Yes, let me ask you.
Sure.
When they say that the lighting was bad, and you read this, did you do anything to improve it?
No, I don't, there were some comments that the lighting was dim, and it is dim. It's typical nightclub.
Did
No,
you do anything to
no, we haven't changed the lighting.
So some things you change and some things you don't.
We like to be aware of what people are
aware.
commenting on, but that doesn't mean we take action on everything.
That's good. You answered me.
Okay.
Thank you.
Commissioner?
Sure. So, you mentioned social media, so I went to your Facebook page.
Yes.
You mentioned social media, so I went to your Facebook page.
Right.
And this is the review from one of the nights in question, February 21st. Baltimore's best, most beautiful and talented ladies around keep you entertained and amazed. Home of the most gorgeous woman I've ever met, a true dancer for sure. The food and sports are top-notch as well, with superb bar service. Sure to be everyone's fave, and that's a review from Derek Ayers. Do you know Derek Ayers?
I don't.
Is there anything in that review that suggests poor lighting?
No.
Is there anything in that review that suggests inability to see what's going on?
In that particular review, no, but I can tell you approximately 20% of the total social reviews related to our club on Google reviews and Yelp mention the poor lighting or the distance from the stage.
So I'm also continuing to look at the total number, all of your reviews, and
Okay.
out of 5 points, you have a 4.2 rating on your Facebook reviews.
Okay.
And that's a total of 348 reviews. Vast majority are 5 stars with no mention of lighting, and I've looked
Okay.
at them all. No mention of lighting. So you're aware of that, right?
I wasn't. When I went to the social reviews, I went to Yelp and Google reviews, which are the 2 most.
So who maintains the Facebook page for Fantasies?
We have several people that
you
are
part
involved
of
in that.
that?
I do occasionally,
All right,
but
so-
it's not my primary.
So all of the Facebook reviews are very positive.
Well, thank
Is there any particular reason why you didn't share the Facebook reviews with this board?
I didn't know that the positive, just generally positive reviews were relevant to the specific charges that we're dealing with.
Okay, but
So it was not any intentional omission. I just didn't want to overwhelm the court with irrelevant stuff.
Oh, we're overwhelmed, I think. I mean, so you've got a review from February 21st, which is the night in question. So I would have thought that, I find that fairly compelling. Is there a spotlight on the dancers when they perform?
No.
So all customers are seated around that square table?
Yes.
I also saw reviews that mentioned that you had undertaken some renovations.
Yes.
And when was that?
That was completed in September.
Of 2014?
Yes.
And the reviews are that you did an incredible job and made the place better. You're aware of that?
Yes.
All right, and you agree that the place is better?
Yes.
And you're getting customers?
Yes.
And you're doing quite well?
We were before the curfew and the riots,
Well,
but we're recovering, hopefully.
Let's put that off to the side, because
Yes,
that's an
but
issue for another
otherwise,
day.
yes.
So but you're doing well. You mentioned that you did some measurements that
Yes.
went from the very center of the stage to
Yes.
various seats around the stage.
Yes.
Is it your experience that when the dancers perform, that they stay smack dab in the middle of the stage and they don't move from the middle of the stage?
Generally, no.
Because the best entertainers move around,
Well,
right?
as the officers mentioned, the majority of the girls perform solo, one
Well-
girl on stage.
But we're talking about the two women.
When there's two women, they will alternate between one girl at each of the two, at each of the two poles. But if they're ever doing any type of simulated activity, I'm going to say 99 to 100% of the time it's in the center stage, because it's the only area in between the poles where there's enough room for.
And they're entertainers.
Yes.
And entertainers don't just stay still.
Correct.
The best entertainers move.
Yes.
And when people move, they move position.
Yes.
And they change their placement.
Yes.
Correct?
Yes.
And they do that intentionally so that people around the stage can get a better vantage point. Correct?
Certainly my.
You want to make sure that everyone who's there, who's paid their money, they want to be entertained, that they can see what they came to see. Correct?
My experience is that most of the girls are uncomfortable dancing when they're actually dancing away from the pole. They gravitate to one of the two poles, and that's pretty much where they spend all their time when they're dancing.
But Caitlin and Caitlin, which is what we're
Right.
about today, were not on the pole.
Right, they were in the
on
center of the
floor,
stage, yes.
And they were together.
Yes.
Are you the Cal that Caitlin Price mentioned?
Yes.
Had corrected their
Yes.
behavior
Yes,
and their
I am.
performance? And
Yes.
so there was some efforts to correct the way
Yes.
that they were performing. Is it correct to say that there were times where body parts were touching?
It is correct. My understanding I try to be aware of what the liquor board rules and regulations are, and my understanding is that touching in and of itself is not prohibited. It's touching in the three vital areas that.
So you can't touch their heart, their lungs, or their ears?
Well, I
No,
didn't.
come on,
I meant their
this is
their
adult
breasts, their
entertainment.
vagina,
So
and
let's-
their.
let's use
yes.
correct.
Okay, so their breasts, their vagina, and their anus. But I'm under the impression, according to looking at the Liquor Board Adult Entertainment Guidelines, that there's nothing that prohibits them from, caressing the side or something like that. And that it is not a violation if they are literally, according to the rules and guidelines, this close. And I just want to mention that subsequent to this incident occurring, in March, we had, I called a staff meeting that was not normally scheduled. And I informed everyone that from this point forward, they were not even allowed to simulate activity to make sure that we don't find ourselves in this situation again. So even though simulated activity is actually the very definition of adult entertainment in the guidelines, we prohibit it now.
Well, simulated activity is one thing, but sexual conduct is a whole nother issue, and that's why you're
Yes.
here. You were here when Caitlin and Caitlin testified.
Yes, I
correct?
was.
And you heard the testimony
Yes.
about this specific act where clothing was removed.
Yes.
And I don't recall whether Price or Moorhead took the clothing off, but one took the clothing off of the other.
Right.
And the person was nude completely, correct?
Yeah, once the clothing
Once
was
the
taken
clothing,
off.
and
yeah.
then the next step was to remove the bikini, and she used her mouth to do that. Did you hear that testimony?
I did, yes.
Okay, and how do you remove someone's underwear with your mouth and not touch the person's body? How is that done?
I didn't say that they didn't
No, I'm
touch
not
the
saying
body.
that you said they did. I'm saying that that was the testimony, and that's what we all heard, that the bikini, I mean, I'm female, and I guess as the ranking female member of this board,
I think I can tell you, it's pretty difficult to remove underwear with one person's mouth and not have the
Well,
wearer of the underwear's body not be touched.
I mean, based
Have
on
you ever had that experience and had it not
based
be
on
touched?
on my observations at the club, it wasn't completely uncommon that a girl would grab a portion of the G-string with her mouth, and there may be some incidental contact, but I'm not under the impression.
I don't think there's a definition in here of incidental contact, and that's where I'm headed. It's contact.
But
it's touching a naked. Well, actually, in the rules, it's touching the other person's body, clothed or unclothed. Period. So you understand that, right?
Well, I apologize if I'm mistaken, but my recollection of the rules is that the only touching that is prohibited is of the breast, anus, and vagina. It's not prohibited, for example, for a girl that's walking around the bar to go like this and put her hand on her shoulder.
Agreed, but that's not what we're hearing today. That's not, if it was just about the shoulder, I don't think we would be here. This is about mouth to vagina touching. And the observation was that one person's tongue entered the other person's vagina. You heard that testimony.
I did hear that, yes.
That's pretty specific.
It is very specific.
And I mean, the distance testimony, I appreciate that in the drawing, but the distance testimony, to me, does not refute the direct observation of that specific act, which is a pretty specific act.
The purpose for us to exhibit that is, I think we can all agree without disputing that nightclub lighting in any form is dimmer than lighting in this room. The closest that the officer likely was to the time was about 15 feet in that area. And the difference between a violation and not a violation is literally this close. And what we were attempting to show is that from a distance of 15 feet, to be able to show whether or not, and in fact, 2 of the 3 officers testified that they didn't see it.
Well, 2 of the 3 officers were there on one occasion. I think that was February 28, 2015.
And
they were there just to have a brief observation and then stop the activity.
And I think more importantly, what I would just like to say is I can't speak with 100% certainty that it didn't happen.
That's the point.
I will tell you that it would be very inconsistent with my history in the club. We're very cognizant of the fact that our license is a privilege. Our family and the families of about 100 people that work there depend on that establishment to support their families. We have been there for over 20 years with a relatively good track record. We take very seriously the privileges that we get, and we would not knowingly allow that type of activity. And it's very inconsistent with how we run our club and our track record. We have a great relationship with the community. I don't know if you've introduced that. I feel we have a good relationship with law enforcement. My younger brother is a 17-year and current member of the Baltimore City Police Force.
So let me go to another area, and then I think this has been a long day already, really long day. So you've got Caitlin Price, who was hired first, Caitlin Price or Caitlin Moorhead?
I don't recall.
It sounds like the longest either was there. One began in December, and then one began shortly thereafter. Here's my question.
Yes.
What training do they get before they actually go onto the dance floor?
As far as training in the literal sense, they really don't receive training. We sit down with them and we explain to them the rules and how the club operates. I will tell you that the club does have a reputation of being a club that is the most strict in how we operate our club. So one of the primary things we do when we orient a new dancer is if they have worked at another club, we make very clear to them that things that may be permissible on the block or other clubs are not activities that we allow at our establishment. And I think our record indicates that. you know, we've never really been accused of any, you know.
Now, are Caitlin and Caitlin friends outside of the club?
It's my understanding that they are.
And do they have a relationship with one another?
They're
outside of the club?
friends. That's all I can attest to. I don't know
not
if you're
asking
going anywhere else with.
Well, I am,
Uh,
but I just want to know what you know.
My personal knowledge is only that they're friends.
Okay, all right.
So that's, you know, and if we don't believe that it occurred, I'm very apologetic if it did, and we are very proactive to correct our operating procedures to make sure that it doesn't occur again. There is not even simulated sexual activity that is permitted. The girls are only allowed to dance.
Any longer?
Correct.
Because clearly that was occurring in January 2015.
Simulated,
February
yes, it
2015.
was.
It's simulated, if not actual, and that's for a decision.
And we don't want to push the boundaries, even though we consider the simulated activity to be legal. It's too much potential trouble, so we're just not even doing it. Okay.
Those are all the questions I have.
All right, anything else?
John? Can I make a quick request? So one of the dancers, she has a son. He comes home from school, and she has to be at the bus stop at Pasadena, Maryland by 4:15. Because of the late start, I'm asking that the dancer with the son be excused at this time.
No, that's probably Ms. Price.
No, Miss Moorhead.
Ms. Moorhead?
All right.
Yes.
No objection.
She's excused.
I think they drove
They
together.
drove together. Would it be all right if we excused them both? They drove together.
They're both excused?
All right, thank you. You guys can go.
All right, now.
Mike, can you escort them back, please?
They can go.
Yeah.
Anybody, anything else of that nature?
No, if I could just have a brief moment to make a close.
With respect to mitigation, go ahead, sir.
For mitigation,
Final argument.
If we assume all the testimony in this case to be true, the only possible explanation is that there was a simulation of oral sex and that the officers, believed that they saw actual oral sex occurring, but that it was just mere simulation. As Mr. Brockdorf explained, that's completely permissible under Maryland law. In fact, the Maryland Code states that.
It's actually Baltimore City Code. Go ahead.
Well, under the Maryland Code for Baltimore City, one definition of adult entertainment is simulation of oral copulation. Our position remains that the oral sex was simulated, and that the only way to put all the evidence together in this case is to come to that conclusion.
Anything in final argument?
Your Honor, the officer testified he saw it, there was no obstruction.
That's what he said.
And that was the case.
It's a question of whether you believe the officer or not. That's what he said. He said he saw the touching. Isn't that right?
Correct.
And that's the first date. Now, as I recall the testimony, the commissioners can change me if they want. With respect to the last date, February 21st, I saw no evidence that there was touching. Anybody correct me on that? Anyway, that's what I recall.
I thought that there was, Your Honor, but that the testimony was he could see mouth to vagina, but he couldn't see mouth to anus.
Well,
that's my recollection.
Same
here.
Well, then you can, Detective Akawandi, as I recall, said that
it was Detective Gatto that had the most
mouth over the vagina. That's what he said. But that was the February 21st. You're absolutely correct. That's what she said.
Well, I remember it because I just couldn't. Well, never mind.
Mm-hmm. All right, anything else, sir?
No.
All right, then the time has come for the decision. And I find that with respect to violations, that they are all guilty, that the proof is there, and I believe the officers and I adopt their testimony. And while I also believe the testimony of most of your witnesses too, including the young ladies, which I'll refer to, except for the principal issue, is that I think that this bar is not the worst place in the United States of America, but the evidence is clear to me that on January 28th, February 12th, and February 21st, that all three charges are proven with respect to your establishment by the fact that the officers have testified that there was touching. And
I adopt that testimony, and the touching was in an area which is prohibited by the statutes of the Baltimore City City Council and the Mayor of the City Council of Baltimore. Now, with respect to the record here of your establishment, there is a record of no records for 14 dancers, which is an important code violation, but nevertheless not on the issue of what we're here here today, but also on the 7th of December 1998, at a time when you were in your client was in control of this establishment, there was a police observed dancer with no covering on breasts, and that's not clear to me whether you were found guilty of that. Do you?
I can comment on that.
Yeah.
There was some uncertainty as to whether or not at the time the Baltimore City regulations banned nudity or not. And a club that was violated for nudity took the case to court, and the court determined that nudity was allowed. So it ended up not being a violation.
So you weren't found guilty of that?
Correct.
Okay. Well, I have no finding. That's why I brought it up.
Yes.
However, today I do have the findings, and they're clear to me that on all 3 dates there was a touching. And it's been proven, and I've adopted the police officer's testimony as the proof of that, and denied the believing that part of your witness's testimony. Now, I am also, as I said before, believe that when the young ladies testified, I believe that they actually believed that they weren't told clearly as to what constitute a violation or not. Now, I understand that you had certain times that you spoke to them, but I observed her deportment and so forth, and I kind of believe it's true that they really didn't know. They seemed very honest to me in the testimony, except that I do believe they touched. Therefore, with respect to the penalty, find all 3 charges.
Your Honor, if we can make a statement in mitigation. I'd like to present a letter from Andy Dice. He's the president of the Curtis Bay Community Association. He addressed a letter to you and to Ms. Bailey Hedgepeth and to Mr. Ward.
That's me.
I'm sorry?
That's me.
Yes, correct. In support of Fannie Citizen at this time, if I can give a copy of the letter to you.
Do you have a copy for my commissioners?
Yes, I do.
All right. And the letter says all.
So
they have been a great asset to the community of Curtis Bay and continue to support many of our community events for the children. Please contact me if you have any questions.
Well, that's the cover email, and there's an attached letter that was also sent.
All right, the Community of Curtis Bay Association was recently contacted by Mr. Brock. What does it say, sir? They have shown a commitment to stay in Curtis Bay, upgrade the facility, impeccable commitment to a clean appearance, friendly manner, supportive of issues in the community, beneficial relationship for a long time. Anything else?
Yes, Your Honor. At the end of the day, this is a club that has a great relationship with the community, and we took your comments to heart that this body is a community board. It's not the court. Fantasy takes that relationship incredibly seriously, and I think one of the most upsetting things, the reason why they so vigorously defended the allegations of oral sex, is that they did not want to tarnish their reputation in the community. They want to be known as an upstanding bar that plays by the rules and that follows the rules. Although mistakes were made, they've taken dramatic steps to ensure that they won't happen again. They held an all-employee meeting. They've basically...
How long has your client been in business?
Can you answer that?
Okay. What else, sir?
And just a great relationship with the community. And, I just
Since 1991, these are the only violations.
Right. Yes. And so, what we have here is a great, and I'm taking Mr. Dice's word as president of the Community Association, that is a great asset. And with a great asset
This community association is still active in the community?
Correct.
Yes. The letter was just written last a couple weeks ago.
It's dated May 8th, with our original scheduled hearing, but Mr. Dice sent it again the other day by email. But it's Mr. Dice, I just want to highlight a few points. He calls it a stable and positive force in the community. There have been no community issues or oppositions related to fantasies. It's done a great job of self-policing. It's sponsored, is a good corporate citizen of the community. They've supported community events for children, and simply put, I'll wrap up now. Mr. Dice states that it's operated in a responsible and community-friendly manner, and it's a great asset to the community of Curtis Bay. And
Okay, now I can read, I did read it.
Can I make
No.
one statement
No.
to mitigation?
Anything else?
That and the fact that you highlighted, Your Honor, that there's no major history of violations, and that
You're not repeating yourself.
No, that should be all factored into mitigation.
Okay.
Yes.
Any contrary information?
No, I don't have any.
All right, I'm ready for the final decision. All right, now with respect to all the things that you've told me, all of which I've taken into consideration, as I already said, to repeat myself, which I shouldn't do, is that this is not the worst place I've ever heard of. And I'm impressed by all the testimony of everybody, except that only some things there are a few things on the critical issues that I don't agree that I believe with respect to the establishment. I believe that the events that the police officers testified to did occur. Therefore, it's a serious violation, and I have to address it. With respect to all three charges, I combine them. It's a concurrent violation, which means they all run at the same time, and I close this bar for 45 days as punishment with a fine of $1,000 to run concurrent, which means the total fine is $1,000. And how much time do you need to pay it?
I guess a week or two.
2 weeks to pay $1,000.
I'm sorry, Your Honor.
This is I'm familiar with Curtis Bay, much more probably than you are. And I used to spend some time down there. Used to know everybody in Curtis Bay, but because of my age, I think most of them are gone. And for this kind of operation to take place with a touching, which I have found has occurred, that's why I have to give you the severe punishment of closing for 45 days.
Am I allowed to speak?
No. All right, commissioners?
How long were you closed down for the rides?
Well, there was the mandatory,
Give me them.
I believe I was 7 days.
Okay. All right. I believe that you're guilty on all three charges. The officer was very clear on what he saw. He didn't hesitate at all. And Caitlin Moorhead testified, she said that sometimes you get caught up in the heat and you might do some things. So she somewhat led me to believe that this happened also. And I always consider your customer age, average age. I was going to ask that question, but I didn't get around to it. Sometimes if you got an older clientele, they don't see as well. But the officer is young. I mean, they see a lot better than we do. And I concur. The $1,000 fine per concurrently is fine. I would like to deduct the 7 days that they were closed by the ride.
I'll join with you. I never thought of that,
Yeah.
but you're absolutely right. And as usual, I'm coming in your direction.
I thank you, sir.
So I will deduct 7 days as part of my decision, which makes it actually, instead of 30, it becomes now 28 days. Isn't that right?
You said 45 minus
45 minus 7.
is 38.
38. Okay, that's my decision. And that's your decision.
Yes, sir.
So I agree with the finding of responsibility. I wouldn't deduct any days because I don't believe you said you were closed. You might have closed early. Don't say anything. All right, just listen.
You had a curfew.
You had a curfew, but so anyway, but it doesn't matter. I'm going to go with my chairman and fellow commissioner. I think that the testimony is very clear that what is alleged to have happened did in fact happen. I think that you had two young women who are young, who are not
experienced or were not experienced, who were not clearly advised what they could and could not do. They enjoyed performing together. They did perform together. They both described themselves as entertainers. I did hear the testimony about getting caught up in the moment. That's totally plausible. I think it's all consistent with the testimony from all of the officers. The closing for 45 days minus 7, so it's a closing for 38 days plus a $1,000 fine and the administrative fee of $125.
Can Mr. Brockdorf make a quick statement?
I just wanted to mention that, you know, we have already been, and when I say we, I include the roughly 100 people that work as bartenders and security and management and kitchen staff, have been pretty dramatically impacted by the events in Baltimore. Not only the time of the curfew, but the reduction in business since. And to that extent that people critically rely on this business, the entertainers can probably find quick alternate employment, but our cooks, our bartenders, our security staff, our managers, they will be out of a job for a month and a half or a month. And I would, if there's any way possible, I would like to plead with the commission to allow the business to shoulder more of the burden in a larger fine and less closure out of understanding for all of the people that had nothing to do with this that will be severely adversely affected. And we do attempt to run the cleanest possible operation that we can. Good relationship with the community, good track record for 20 years. And on the heels of the curfew and the riots, and another month to month and a half would be very tough for the people that are already trying to recover. So if there's any way I can plead with the commission to take into consideration the impact of a lengthy closure on all of the people that live day to day and paycheck to paycheck, a month without work and pay, it will be more than some of them can well handle, and they had nothing to do with what happened. So I would not happily, but I would certainly willingly take a larger fine.
Why don't you place it in writing, and I'll take it up with my commission.
Okay, I will. Thank you, sir.
Tell me what you want, and I'll take it up with them. Not now.
Okay.
We've got to get on with these other cases.
Okay.
All right. Thank you, Your Honor.
Give you a prompt decision.
Thank you.
All right.
All right.
Let me know when you're ready.
People come because of the dancing, although it does say they have good food and a great bar.
Tell me when you're ready. Ready? Call the case.
Calling Shelley Gordon and Dolores Reicher, Silverblood Incorporated, trading as Circus Bar, 427 East Baltimore Street.
All right, then Melvin Kudzinski represents the defendant.
Yes, I do, Your Honor, and preliminarily, if I may, I'm going to have to ask that this case be postponed for the following reasons.
Okay, what's that?
One of which I was just given 10 minutes ago, a 40-page sealing order.
What?
Sealing order.
What kind of order?
Sealing order from the warrants.
Yeah, we need everyone to, the last case.
Let me see what you're talking about.
And I can talk to this.
Can I
I
run
was
to
just
the ladies'
given-
room
So
while
what's
this
the
is
point of
debated?
this?
I was just given that, 15 minutes ago.
Yeah.
And it has information and redactions in there that would be probative in this case, would also be able to have my clients to have witnesses here. Also is indicated on page 15 that many of the transactions were audio and visually recorded.
How long have you seen this?
I just got it 15 minutes ago.
I just got it an hour ago, Your Honor. So essentially, this was the...
So what's your position with respect to his request?
Your Honor, we don't necessarily need this. I got this in support of our case. If I don't necessarily have to use this, I can use the testimony of our witnesses, Your Honor.
Yeah, but he hasn't seen it. He doesn't know.
I got it myself. Essentially, it describes the probable cause which led to
the investigation at
And it has
Circus
information
Park.
here that
About a
I'm,
week.
Hmm?
About a week.
Okay.
Any problem with a week's postponement?
Let me find out.
Hmm?
The officers have been here all day, Your Honor.
I'm very
Is a
sorry
week
about
possible?
that.
One at a time, guys.
Is a week, gentlemen?
All right, 1 week's postponement.
same on the other, it just also applies to the next case. It's the same.
Yes, correct.
Same
Same
applicant.
thing, the next case?
Mhm.
Well, yeah.
Yeah, you know, and it's an outrage when they, what is it?
Take it easy.
No, when we have, it's both
Postpone,
cases.
what's 1 week from today?
You're gonna
What's
call
it
it
take
Sentinel.
next week? Come on, folks, listen.
Try-
Huh?
It's the 18th. June 18th, is that what you're asking?
The date?
June 18th, sir.
18th of June. I forgot my earphones today, and I apologize for it.
I can't do the 18th, you're gonna have a root canal.
All right, how about the week after?
I'm good for that.
All right,
June 25th.
June 25th. Have fun with your root canal. All right, here's my papers.
Yeah.
Yes, sir. I will make sure you get
All right, call the next case.
I'm going to call it right now, Your Honor. Calling Ernest Hatmaker and Bradley Simmons, Shea Joey LLC, trading as Shea Joey, 415 East Baltimore
And
Street.
you have the same issue, enter your appearance
Same as- For the record, Melvin J. Kudensky, 19 East Fayette Street.
and your statement.
The statement is that we've just given this sealing order 15, 20 minutes ago, and it has information here that would be beneficial to the defendant to know about. And also, there's an auto visual that we're going to request to be brought to the hearing.
All right, now, you have the same root, are you a witness in that case too?
Yes.
All right, so what's that date?
25th.
25th of June. My last day before the liquor board.
Court's indulgence. I
goodness.
think, Detective Jackson.
All right,
told-
then now, I'm so sorry we have to adjourn right now because that's our last case.
Detective Jackson just informed me that he may not be available on the 20th. Can you speak up?
25th. Yes, we're on the record. He knows he should have been here.
That's fine.
All right, and what do you have to say?
What was the other guy's name?
Detective Fletcher Jackson.
Detective Jackson just informed me he may be on vacation both the 18th and
No, I'm talking to you. Is anything that I need to know or
Detective-
postpone to the 25th?
Yes, Detective Jackson, who's on the Shea Joey case, correct?
Right, I'm on the
Shea Joey case, is on vacation the 18th and the 25th. Is that correct?
Well, we have to do without him because we're going to go ahead.
Okay. All right, thank you, Your Honor.
All right, folks, that's it. Thank you, we're adjourned.